Nope. Got the nice picture. Gotta get the nice picture, right? Gotta get the nice picture. Gotta get the nice picture. Don't you agree? It's always nice to look at the nice picture. How you guys doing today? I'm doing pretty well. I had my first job. First day at the new job that I'm working, just a training shift. It was really nice. We're streaming away, we're streaming today. I hope you're doing fine. There's so many streams for us to see, but this one here is mine. Sorry guys. I'm gonna turn that right off. Oh my goodness. Got my phone right beside me. And of course, how rude. And we were having such a good song. Let's do it again. We're streaming away. We're streaming today. I hope you're doing fine. There's so many streams for us to see, but this one here is mine. I hope that you're happy, I hope that you're well. Now come on and join me, watch the world go to hell while we are streaming away. We're streaming today. Let's stream today. How you guys doing? As I was saying before, I got off work, came on down here. I've got a ton of tabs open, but it's all just random nonsense. So today's going to be a really, really random, just a hodgepodgey kind of thing. Hey, Crouching, how you doing? You're steadily becoming the first guy in the gate every single time, right? Which is beautiful. It's beautiful. You get to see the ease into the show, which is always really nice. It's one of the things that is tough about this show is diving into the absurdity and the nonsense. So I like to try to ease everybody in. And of course, one of the best ways to do that. Hey Misty, how you doing? Good to see you. One of the best ways to do that is with Mr. David Lynch and his regular update.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's August 20, 2021, and if you can believe it, it's a Friday once again.
We made it.
Here in LA, cloudy, very still right now, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, around 19 Celsius.
Nice and cool.
Today, I was thinking about the song Imagine.
Oh, yeah.
By John Lennon.
Beautiful song.
This afternoon, it'll be going up to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, around 26 Celsius.
Still colder than here.
And these clouds should burn away mid-morning. And afterwards, we should be enjoying beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine all along the way. But it'll probably be a kind of a hazy blue, hazy gold. Everyone, have a great day.
You too, David. I hope you had a good day. So he said, Imagine. Now, unfortunately, I can't play the proper version of it, so I thought I would just play the song myself today, as a little treat, as a Friday treat. Please sing along, right? Poor John Lennon, eh? Really think about it. John Lennon, he would still be alive, right? Paul McCartney's still alive. Imagine the world right now with John Lennon in it, right? It'd be a better place for sure. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Ooh. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Woo. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday that you will join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger in the brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Oh, you may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday that you will join us, and the world will be as one. Good to see you, Ruth. Oh, man. What a great song, man. And yeah, he was shot by a coward in the back. A coward who wanted to do it to gain notoriety and fame. Who, if you actually do the research, you find out he's quite remorseful. He's quite remorseful about what he did. And there is a little part of me that would like to believe that John Lennon would forgive him. That's the kind of man that I think John Lennon actually was in the end of it all. And it's difficult because, like, sometimes guys like Lennon get critiqued for being pretentious. And I just don't see it, you know? That it's not pretentious to wish the world was better. Anyway, Ruth, are you in for the number? Are you in for the number? Really love the covers, John. You should do this from now on. Oh man, some of the songs, dude. I don't know all of these songs, and it'll be a bit of a train wreck, I think. Sometimes, yeah, it'd be worth trying.
Here we go for today's number.
Here we go for today's number.
It's August 20, 2021.
I am feeling
10 balls. Each
7.
ball has
I'm feeling
a number.
7.
Numbers 1 through 10.
Here we go. Come on, Big 7.
Swirl
the numbers. I don't think I've won one time. I don't think I've hit this number ever.
Pick a number.
What do we got?
Today's number is
8. Whiff for everybody. Mark comes in at the 0 hour with a 2. Good try, bud. Good try. No, a whiff by everybody today. That's life for you, isn't it? That's life for you. Try as you hard. Try your hardest, right? Sometimes, doesn't matter how hard you try, you still lose. That's some Star Trek knowledge for you, right? There's this great Star Trek The Next Generation episode where Data is trying his hardest to figure out why he lost a game of like chess, essentially. And Picard finally convinced him to get over it because he was like, Mr. Data, sometimes you can just try your best and lose. That's not a flaw. That's called life. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm shocked I even got 2 wins on the unluckiest person ever. That's how I feel, dude. I feel like I've always been out of step. You know, just like out of step a little bit. And I've seen it many times in my life where like I'm just a little behind on timing and I'm not quite, like I'm grabbing at the right thing, but I'm not quite there, you know? The kind of thing where like you find out that a girl you like has broken up with her boyfriend, you know, and you go over there and you're like, hey, would you like to go out for dinner? And she's like, oh, I'm already going to go out with Bradley. And you're like, fuck you. Fuck you. How sad is that screenshot? Which screenshot are you talking about? Are you talking about this one? So this is, I just wanted to show this. This is going to be a random day, guys. This is going to be a random day of stuff. This is Max Blumenthal shitting on some guys right outside of Congress.
Look at you. You work for Congress? You work for the most violent institution on earth.
You defend the Chinese genocide with non-believers.
No, you defend the State Department. You defend the most violent institution on the planet.
There's no genocide.
Well, there's no genocide.
Of course, the State Department has to continue believing that there's actually a Uyghur genocide, even though there's no evidence, and everybody that's ever gone there has walked out being like, yeah, there's no Uyghur genocide. Hey, Amanda, how you doing? I love that name, Amanda Panda. What a great name. I love it. I can't do stuff like that with my name. It's like John Flan. Like, John doesn't really rhyme with much of anything. Like, I could be like John Juan, but I'm not really a John Juan, right? Like, I don't really have the look of a John Juan, right? I'm like John Juan. I'm like a John Juan's like sidekick. I'm like the dude riding on the horse beside him, being like, "Oh yes, we're all handsome. We're all handsome here." Yeah, yeah. Go up. You were on. I think I already closed it down, Ruth. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry. Maybe. Hold on. Actually, I could probably. No, this is going to bring up the new thing. It's Chong Shlong. How dare you, sir? How dare you? How dare you? I'm not going to walk around saying John Shlong. Oh, my goodness. I mean, we got better dwelling here. Talking about the Canada mortgage debt. It's never seen such explosive growth. Hits 1.7 trillion. Right? Canadians now have over 1.7 trillion in mortgage debt. System's working, guys. System's working, right? Like, this is normal. Normal society, right? Like, everything's normal. Having this much debt. Hey, Darren, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Like, and this is coming out Bank of Canada data, right? Like, and look at this, guys. Like, look at this. This is outright, and it's behind the ad. It's behind the ad. Yeah, we got it. You got to have ads. You got to have ads. Capitalism totally working. But like for real, like this, and this isn't very long. Like over a 20-year period. So back in 1990, right? It's down here at 0.2, and this is Canadian dollars in trillions. 0.2 in 1990, and now it's up here, right? 1.7. Over a 20-year period, you're looking at this kind of growth. It's completely unsustainable. Like, this is going to blow up. This is going to blow up, right? It's just going to blow up. And so, like, Canadian mortgage debt has never made a monthly jump like this. Yeah, Green Party seems to be coming out for most of all the things Canadians want. Yeah, like, I mean, you could make the critique. Like, you could make the critique that the Greens, like, yeah, they know they're not going to win. Right? They know that they're not going to have to make good on any of this stuff. But I am glad that there's going to be somebody on the debate stage that's actually talking this way. The stuff that I've been hearing Anime Paul, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. How come I can't hear this stuff come out of Jagmeet Singh's mouth? Right? Like, Jagmeet Singh is saying, like, we need to raise taxes on the wealthy, right? Use that wealth to, like, help people. But, like, there's no like real clarity coming out of the NDP in regards to what they want to focus on, you know. So I'm super glad that the Greens are going to be on the stage, and I'm glad that Annamie Paul she needs to just swing at it, man. I think Annamie Paul's pretty aware that like this election is probably the only time that she's really going to be up on that debate stage. This is her opportunity to make a mark. This is her opportunity to like really swing on it. Line go up on graph mean world gooder. Neoliberal. Yeah, for sure, dude. Stonks. Right? Stonks. Rich people feelings. Right? Rich people feelings line go up. That's it. That's it. Of course, the COVID update. Here in Ontario, we're up to 650 cases now. We broke 600. So we were like sort of plateaued at 500 for a little while, and I think there were some people that were kind of crossing their fingers, being like, come on, line, go back down. Come on, line, go back down. Not gonna happen. Click, 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 right? And our government is sitting here being like, we gotta get these kids back to school in September. September, get these kids back to school. Well, the Delta variant is more infectious amongst the youth, right? It's more infectious amongst the youth. And then on top of that, the vaccines that we have, we can't give to the youth. So you're just lining them up, right? You're just lining them up. Like, how about no? How about don't do that, right? How about rethink the way that your system operates and rethink the way that this capitalist model operates? Oh yeah, Doug Ford's 100% going to do that. Doug Ford, the visionary. Doug Ford, the man with the plan. For the rich people, right? Like, for the people. Doug Ford, absolutely. So this is gonna we're basically doing the second wave again. We kind of thought about what we did last year, and we're like, yeah, let's do that again. Let's just keep everything open over Christmas. Let's just keep plowing towards this, right? As we march towards an election, which seems to be blowing up in the Liberals' faces, actually. A lot of the data that's coming out is showing that, I don't know if I've got this particular data point to show you guys, but amongst people who say that they are left-wing, the Liberals and the NDP are actually equal right now. So, like, the Liberals are losing, they're losing ground among left-wing voters, which, super bad news for them. Super bad news for them. And Ken Cinco's, good to see you. Our Canada Housing is a battleground for votes. And the cons there are trying to convince people they have the best plan. Oh, yeah, okay. Here's Ken Cinco's, I'm so glad that you're in here. I want to show this to friggin' everybody, okay? So 8 conservative candidates. So that's like, let's do that in terms of a percentage, right? What's the percentage of 8 candidates in a party that has like 120 seats? So you're looking at like 5%, right? About 5% of the conservative candidates use public money to place ads in a newspaper that spreads COVID-19 conspiracies, right? Fantastic. This is the Epoch Times. According to the New York Times investigation described the Epoch Times as a global-scale misinformation machine that has repeatedly pushed fringe narratives into the mainstream, including the Spygate and QAnon conspiracy theories. Conservatives are giving public money to place ads in this place. The Epoch Times is a controversial media outlet that is affiliated with Falun Gong. Oh, Falun Gong. Falun Gong. Oh, okay. Here's the emblem for Falun Gong, right? This is an organization that started in the 90s. It gets thrown out of China, where it originated. They preach a message of racial purity, right? That intermarriage is wrong, that races need to stay within their own people. And their leader says that he can turn invisible and shit like this. There's your conservative party, right? There's your fucking conservative party. And nobody in the fucking mainstream, nobody in the mainstream is talking about this. Nobody in the mainstream is talking about this. Like, this comes from Press Progress, right? I'm not seeing a Globe and Mail report, right? I'm not seeing the Toronto Star. I'm not seeing the National Post. I'm not seeing Global News. I'm not seeing CBC. I'm not seeing anybody be like, hey, maybe we should talk about this, right? Don't you think we should talk about this? And the amount of apologetics I've seen for this come out of the white supremacists that exist in our society. Oh, dude, it's a Hindu, it's like a Buddhist symbol, you know, all that kind of stuff. Fuck you. If you're saying that to me, you're a fucking white supremacist. Period. Fucking period. Falun Gong is a cult that preaches a message of racial purity while holding a fucking literal Nazi swastika in front of us. Get fucked. There's a reason they got thrown out of China. And nobody in the mainstream is talking about it. Nobody in the media is talking about it. I'm going to keep fucking talking about it until somebody in the mainstream grows a fucking pair and actually, hey, conservatives, why are you donating to a fucking neo-fascist movement? What's that about? Hey, yo, what's up with the Epic Times? Should we maybe allow them to exist or not? Right? Hey, all they've done is spread around lies because they've got a ton of money. Because fucking conservatives keep giving them money to run ads. Oh no, guys, it's a legit spiritual movement, though. Started in the 90s using, you know, Nazi swastikas and shit. Totally normal. Fucking totally normal. Brutal. Ugh. Because Pretty Boy is a putz. Yeah, Pretty Boy is a putz. I mean, to me, this is like a slam dunk. Can you imagine if in the middle of this election they start showing this symbol to people? Like, yeah, the populace is going to look at that and be like, yeah, that's Nazi shit. Like, interesting that the liberals aren't, right? The connection is tight. 8 conservative candidates used public money to place ads in a newspaper, right? But even Press Progress is refusing to chase this, right? It's refusing to chase this obvious Nazi connection, this obvious racial purity connection. You just need to read their shit. You just need to read Falun Gong shit, be like, oh, racial purity conversation, here we go. Oh, that's the fucking Nazi swastika. Yeah, they get kicked out of China. Why? Because they're fucking Nazis. Like, 1 + 1 = 2. Like, and oh, we'll just make sure that it's flipped around, right? Plausible deniability, classic Nazi strategy. Classic Nazi strategy. NDP is better at deficit management because they aren't as corrupt by far and are willing to tax people with money. Why call the answers a swastika when the Nazis used it as a explicit Christian symbol? Swastika is actually an ancient symbol. The Nazis never called it that. I just think you're splitting hairs, dude. Like, we know what it is. Like, we know what it fucking is. Like, I'm just not buying into this. Like, you want to delve into the history of the swastika. You want to delve into the history of this symbol, right? You go ahead. That's a nice little side project. Fantastic. You want to get involved in politics, right? Especially here in the fucking West. You're walking around with this shit? Nah. There's a reason they're nuts, right? And they're outright preaching a message of racial purity. Like, I'm not buying it, especially because Nazis are well known for their plausible deniability shit. That's how they roll, right? So that they can just go like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's like super well known that this is what they do. And if you're trying to excuse this shit, nah, bud. Fuck no. Like, fuck no. I'm not going to tolerate it. Like, no. These guys are fucking Nazis. They're fucking fascists. And we've got 8 fucking federal conservative candidates in Alberta giving money to this organization, right? That's run by these fucking guys. No. I'm good. Like, I'm fucking good. Like, if you want to come at me with, like, your hair split and shit, no thank you. Like, fuck no thank you. I reject it. I outright reject it. I will draw the plausible deniability line at literally a swastika. Like, literally. Like, you know, we released a tweet and it completely aligned with the 1488 formula that totally exists in Nazi propaganda since the inception of the Nazis. That was just a coincidence, right? Secure the future. Sure, like, the Nazi slogan is, we will secure the future for the white Aryan race, and we're saying secure the future, and sure, those two things align, but come on, man, like, that's just a coincidence, right? Oh, yeah, no, that's just a coincidence. Yeah, Aaron O'Toole is walking around saying the popular Ku Klux Klan phrase, Canada First, while there is literally a Nazi organization that operates in Canada under the name Canada First. Sure, he's walking around saying Canada first, but maybe Canada should be first. And, plausible deniability, all this. You know where I draw the fucking plausible deniability line? Yeah, literal swastika. Yeah, okay. Like, great. Like, great. All right. Moving on from this. I don't want to turn this into this fucking thing. I did that video yesterday, and no one's going to talk about it, and we're going to get a lot of this stuff, right? You point out, like, hey, and we're going to get a lot of this. Because there's going to be a lot of, like, liberals who are like, let's just see the best in people. Sunny ways. This is just a big misunderstanding, you guys. They're not actually Nazis, even though they're fucking actually Nazis. Like... there were pools and orchestras in the death camp, so it's all okay. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Like, no, and I mean, like, and demand better, like, I don't want to shit on you, right? I don't want to shit on you. I want to, like, if we were talking about Falun Gong as an organization, and it was, like, over there in the corner, right? And we were talking about them kind of in, not a vacuum, but, like, as an organization that's sort of disconnected from everything or is doing its own thing, like all that kind of stuff, and you were talking this way, I'd be like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, great. These guys have become politically connected, right? They are connected to the Conservative Party now, directly, straight up, directly, right? These guys are not like off on the fringes anymore, right? They are getting into the Conservative Party. They are getting into our electoral system. They are getting into the leaders of the opposition who hold the second most seats in the country, right? Yeah, that changes the discourse a little bit. It changes the discourse. It changes the stakes in a big, big way. It changes the stakes in a big, big way. Like, these guys aren't standing off in the corner being like, let's try to influence the culture by spreading what we see as the truth, and we have these spiritual practices and all this kind of stuff. Now they're literally like, oh, no, we're working with MPs. We're working with MPs in order to get our message into the halls of power, right? To pass legislation, to change the laws of Canada, right? And we're walking around with this shit. No. Full stop. Full fucking stop. Nope. Especially as Aaron O'Toole is walking around saying Canada first. Especially as Aaron O'Toole is walking around doing the 1488 shit. Doing all this dog whistling shit. Yeah. Nope. Full stop. Like, I get where the impulse comes from. Because it is, it's true. Like, the Nazis adopt it from a Hindu and Buddhist religious symbol, and like they take it and they use it for their own stuff, and it means peace and all this kind of etc., on and on and on, and the symbol is ancient and so on and so on. Falun Gong started in the 90s, preaches a message of racial purity, gets thrown out of China for being fucking Nazis, and now is here and is embedding itself in our political system. No thank you. Like, no fucking thank you. And our media is just not talking about it. Like, this is the best they can do. No, not pro-Nazi, dude. No. No one, I think, was interpreting it that way. I think we're just exhausted with sort of the, like, technicality, like it's this is gonna sound a little mean, and I don't mean it to sound mean, dude, but, like, in my view, it does kind of have that ringing tone of being like, I say Black Lives Matter, you say all lives matter, right? It's technically true, but it just kind of misses what we're talking about. Like, I'm ringing an alarm bell because I'm concerned that there is a Nazi element in the Conservative Party. And when people come at me and they're all like, actually, that symbol is, it means peace in the Hindu, all this kind of, and so on and so forth, and in the spiritual practice, and this is just a cultural misunderstanding, and I'm like, literally not what we're fucking talking about. Like, literally not what we're fucking talking about, and misses the point. And in my view, no, Falun Gong knows exactly what they're doing with this, right? They know exactly what they're fucking doing with this. They're not sitting there being like, maybe they're sitting there in that kind of Nazi sort of way where they're like, plausible deniability, right? Plausible deniability, right? Like, we'll put this forward, but no, it means peace and love. Certainly it's not there to attract literal Nazis, right? If you're a literal Nazi living in this country and you see this, do you think to yourself, well, there's the ancient Hindu symbol meaning peace? Or do you think, hey, these guys are Nazis, they're on my side? Like, how do you think that rolls, right? And so I just, like, I really, and I'm seeing tons of people do this. Like, I put up my last video where I talk about this. I put up my last video, and every single subreddit, I put it on, and every Twitter feed and everything I put it on, there's one person that comes at me with exactly what you said, right? So it's a very popular position to take. It's a very popular kind of thing to do, and it drives me fucking crazy. Because when I say Black Lives Matter, I don't need somebody saying all lives matter. I need somebody being like, oh shit, yeah, the Nazis in our society for sure see this and go, yeah, cool, on my side. For sure. Like, they're not going peace and love and all that fucking shit. They're going fucking, oh yeah, there's the Nazi symbol. These guys are on my side. I'm a Nazi. These guys are Nazis. We're going to Nazi together. And guess what? Click. They are. Very concerning. I'm very concerned about it. And the silence that is coming from our media over it, the silence that is coming from our media about it is driving me crazy. There's not even an opinion piece. There's not even somebody in, like, the Toronto Star who's just like, hey, this kind of cult connection is weird, right? They're not even saying, hey, this kind of cult connection is weird. Huh? Like, they're a cult. For sure they are. Like, they say that fucking their leader can turn invisible. Their leader walks around saying, hey, I can turn invisible. Oh, evolution's not real, by the way. Oh, hey, racial purity is good, right? Like, this is what they're saying. And nobody's standing up and saying, like, hey, maybe the fucking Conservative Party shouldn't get in bed with a literal cult, right? They're not even saying that, let alone this fucking Nazi shit. Very concerning. I'm at like a 10, right? If it's a scale from 1 to 10, I'm at an 11 on this issue. You guys know me. I don't like to fucking, like, constantly harp on shit. No, that's a fucking lie. I love to constantly harp on shit. But, like, it drives me crazy that, like, now this is going to become a thing. Like, this is going to become a thing on this channel until I see fucking anybody talk about it. Okay, I gotta move on. I don't want to turn this whole fucking channel into this. Ugh. And yeah, while we're doing this, yeah, while we got this going on, COVID-19's going up. Yeah! Can you feel that I'm getting a little unhinged about this? Can you feel? Yeah, incidentally, speaking of Nazis, Aaron O'Toole vows to increase criminal punishment for people who disrupt pipelines and railways. So this is like, the Conservative Party leader wants to amend Canada's criminal code to stop protests that disrupt key infrastructure. Right? The entire point of protesting is to disrupt key infrastructure. That's the point of protest. But the only, like, so this guy doesn't give a fuck about First Amendment rights or any of that, like free speech kind of shit. That's kind of classic conservatism, right? People have the right to protest. People have the right to protest. People have the right to shut down this infrastructure. People have the right to do this sort of stuff. That's like literally embedded in our criminal code. That our legal system has specifically structured itself and designed itself purposefully to allow people the right to protest, right? Yeah, literally, just like Trump with the protests. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Nazis are gonna Nazi, right? Like, they're gonna fucking bro down together. And, like, ugh. I want to pause for a second and just be like, hey, Demand Better, if you're still in the stream, dude, I hope you feel like I wasn't, like, going at you, because, like, I'm just very passionate about this subject, and, like, I'm very concerned. I'm fucking very concerned. I'm very concerned. Yeah, tents popping up more across the country right when CRB is cut and fourth wave. Yeah, Matthias. How you doing, bud? It's good to see you. And, like, yeah, oh, big shock, you cut the CRB and suddenly there's fucking more tents popping up across the country, right? I'm going to be talking a bit about that. I've got a couple of articles in the... This is all going to be random, dude. I've never seen a right-winger willingly admit that the Nazis viewed their symbols as Christian, which is the main point I meant. Okay, dude, I understand. Most try to pretend that they were pagan or atheists. Yeah, Falun Gong sucks. Yeah, we all agree about that. No, I see where you're coming from. That like the Christian conservatives, who are Christian conservatives, that's who they are. They're never going to admit that the Christian influence that exists throughout Nazism is 100% there. And there were definitely Christian groups that worked with the Nazis. There are notable Christians who stood up against the Nazis. I think Friedrich Bonhoeffer is, like, in my view, one of the most important and influential ones, right? He stood up against the Nazis and they executed him, right? And, like, that's the kind of shit that I'm seeing. Like, this is the kind of shit that I'm seeing coming out of the Conservative Party. It's very concerning. Especially as we are at this, like, precipitous moment, right? We are at a precipitous moment where we just had COVID-19. The society is kind of shaking. The liberals are doing that thing that they do where they, like, want to look good, but then they don't want to make it permanent, you know? They want to sell us back to the death cult. They want to sell us back to the death cult. And so it's just very, like, very concerning. Friends from Halifax sending me photos, tents and all kinds of parks there in Dartmouth, yeah. Gotta love the Nova Scotia cons immediately going against their lefty rhetoric and attacking the homeless, yeah. Well, these two events are unrelated. It is unrelated that the Conservatives came into power and days later that the Conservatives were elected and days later we cleared the encampments. These two things are unrelated. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. What a disaster. Maybe people should vote for the real left-winger instead of the parties that suddenly discovered left-wing policy right before an election, yeah. I mean, do we have a left-winger? Like a real left-winger? I mean, Jugmeat's covered in question marks, man. I got lots of question marks about him. I'm willing to vote NDP just because it'll scare the shit out of the liberals and the conservatives. For me, that's fucking enough, especially while they're fucking walking around with this shit. Yeah, I would like that party to collapse. I would like to vote against that for sure. And I'm not going to vote liberal. So, I say let him have a crack at it, dude. Like, what's the worst thing that happens under an NDP government? Like, really? It can't be worse than this. It can't be worse. I mean, it can be worse than this, because it could be conservative. But, like, how do you, like, what's he going to do? Like, what is he genuinely going to do to, like, screw things up for Canadians? I just don't see it. Oh, Darren, I think there's a communist in your riding. Good for you, bud. Yeah, the Communist Party is getting some people in there. It's interesting. Every time I've tried to connect with that group, with the Communist Party, I've never gotten any feedback. I've never gotten anything out of them. So I'm surprised to see that they're getting people in there. Yeah, it's disturbing. My uncle actually spit at a homeless guy on a couch a day ago. Yeah. I've never spoke with him again. I hate people who shit on these people. Yeah, like, what are you spitting on? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish there, dude? Like, what are you genuinely hoping to accomplish? And what are you doing it for? Like, it's just like you have, like, you look at a homeless person and it reminds you that your society is a failure, right? And so instead of saying, oh shit, our society is a failure, I better work to reform it, you take that feeling of angst and anger and you just put it back on the homeless guy, right? And so it creates this, like, feedback cycle of hatred that exists within, like, the boomer white mentality of, like, oh, homeless people are homeless because they're failures. It's just like, no, dude, like, like, people are going to get crushed by this system. It's designed to crush people. Ugh. If the NDP stand no chance, I vote communist to signal that's where the voters be. Yeah, I think that's not a terrible decision, right? Like, I'm always in favor of people voting for their heart. I have always hated this strategic voting idea. Like, I just think it's self-defeating. And like, yeah. I would say that, like, liberals and conservatives are not much different, but, like, yeah, they are. I don't see fucking liberals walking around with this shit. But I don't see liberals walking around pointing it out, right? I don't see liberals walking around being like, oh yeah, these guys are actual Nazis, right? Like, so, in my view, the liberals are kind of covering for the conservatives a bit. Like, oh yeah, no, they can't be that bad. My respectable member of the Conservative Party, right? Like, all that fucking bullshit. Capitalist double standards. These whiny nobody wants to work signs on every restaurant door and cash register showcase 4 important features of the bourgeoisie. 1. Their love of the free market vanishes as soon as basic market forces like supply and demand tip to the benefit workers, even briefly. Competition breeds innovation until they have to offer competitive wages. 2. When the going gets tough, they roll up their sleeves and blame somebody else for their failure. Then they hop on Facebook to complain about nobody taking personal responsibility anymore. 3. Despite self-mythologizing constantly, they have no work ethic at all. They'd rather close the doors than flip the burgers themselves. 4. They aren't even competent at MS Word. Listen, if you print outward-facing signage in 14-point Times New Roman on plain printer paper and hang it up lopsided on one piece of Scotch tape, you better pray Atlas don't shrug. You won't make it. Yeah, dude. Like, preach. Please, God, preach. Yeah, lots of crypto-fascists in the cons, lots of crypto-cons in the libs. Yeah. And you're right about this, Ruth. Absolutely. People still think of them, the homeless, as drunks and addicts, not veterans, families, or working poor. Yeah. Like, and nobody thinks about them as, like, I shouldn't say nobody, but, like, lots of people don't think about them as victims, right? That, like, nobody is, like, making the decision to be homeless, right? Like, this society is designed to eject people. It's structured that way, right? That it's supposed to have a segment of the population in desperation at all times. That's how it's supposed to work. It's structurally designed to do that. And then you go around pretending as though it isn't. Like, it's a form of self-delusion, right? You're just deciding that there are no systems, that there is no meta, that there is no structure, right? That oh, we're just a group of, like, individuals wandering around in a ruleless, lawless West, right? That there is no such thing as history, there is no such thing as events, right? That literally the moment you are in is the only thing that has ever existed, and all you got to do is pull yourself up and work hard, and everything will work out for you. Like, it's just a form of manic delusion at this point. And the people that are walking around genuinely believing that homeless people are there because of their own personal failing, especially the ones that clutch onto the Bible, like, Jesus. Didn't Palmiro Togliatti say that the petty bourgeoisie are the most likely to turn fascist when things get tough? Yep. And their position above the workers is threatened? Yeah. That happens over and over and over and over again. Almost every single time that fascists come to power, they don't have the majority of the support of the populace, right? Hitler only ever had, like, about 30% of the vote before he abolished the electoral system, right? He only had about 30% of the vote. That it was the liberals that bent the knee and complied and went along with him, because the liberals were allied to the same industrialists and the same capitalists that were funding Hitler. And so when the choice came between vote for the socialists and the communists who are interested in reforming the society for the betterment of the workers and the general people who are living in poverty, or go towards the fascists because they're going to maintain the system of privilege that we liberals enjoy, they're going to go towards fascists, right? And that's historically accurate. It's what happens every fucking single time, which is why this shit is so dangerous, while the fucking conservatives are walking around polling at about 25%. Seem familiar, right? Seem familiar? And as we continue getting into minority government situations, like, are we going to end up in a situation where and we've seen the liberals vote along with the conservatives. Anytime the vote goes up, raise taxes on the wealthy, liberals and conservatives are suddenly tight. They're suddenly bros, right? They're suddenly allies with one another, right? So anytime the issue of economic restructuring comes up, the liberals and the conservatives are buds. Like, that's very fucking concerning. Very, very, very fucking concerning. And very fucking concerning to see the liberals ally themselves and ever vote along these lines. Right? Ever. Ever. And I think that's the number one reason why liberals will not talk about this. The number one reason the liberals will not talk about this is because they still want to vote with these guys. They still want to have credibility while voting with these guys. Right? They want to have plausible deniability. They want to look to the populace and be like, well, you know, we're working with people. We're working with the conservatives just like we're working with the NDP, and we're cooperating and all this kind of stuff. This is who they're cooperating with. This is who the liberals are fucking cooperating with. Nah. Yeah, we've seen liberals cooperate with fascists before. We know exactly what happens. They didn't cut funding for corporations for the wage subsidy, but had no problem cutting the CRB. Yeah, literally their words. To get Canadians back working. Yeah. Work for your masters. Work for your masters. Enslave yourselves. Translation, to get the slaves back to their serfdom. Exactly. Only now with the wage subsidy, now you are paying yourself to work. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like, this period of time has proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that any government can come along at any time and restructure this so that workers don't need to work for these capitalists. They could do it. They always could. Right? They always could. They've shown it. They've proven it. It's blatant. It's right in front of your face, right? That they absolutely could do it. Why aren't they? Oh, there's the question. Why aren't they? Why aren't they doing the thing that they could do and they've already done once, right? Why aren't they? Could it be because... could it be? Oh, this is great. On a lighter note, February 22nd, 2022, 2/22/2022 falls on a Tuesday, so we will be able to call it Tuesday, which is really keeping me going. Yeah, I really, my heart goes to this. I really respond to this. I'm really like, yeah, absolutely. This is what life's about. Just those little moments of just like, yeah, today's Tuesday. Amazing. And I feel like we should all do something special on Tuesday so that we can all remember the day of two, right? I'm just going to have a bunch of twos. What do you think? Like, just have a whole bunch of twos around. Just pairs of things constantly. Man, we could make a movie, right? Call it Tuesday. And it's about a dude who keeps seeing things in pairs. And he's like, oh, and then there's like a big conspiracy around like pairs of things, right? He like runs to the room and there's like the twins from The Shining. And they're just like, come and play with us. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Yeah, and so at the same time that the conservatives, like outside of the Nazi stuff, okay, like they at the very least are placing money in newspaper ads that are spreading QAnon-style conspiracy theories. At the same time that they're doing that, several conservative candidates directed public money to Canada's biggest anti-abortion lobby group. Right? Like, yeah, the Campaign Life Coalition, an anti-abortion group that has likened abortion to the Nazi Holocaust. So, good work completely, like, minimizing the actual Holocaust. So good work alienating Jews, which, I mean, that's what you're doing, right? You're alienating Jews. So we know. And launched homophobic attacks against former Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne, right? Who is a lesbian, which is just disgusting. So diminishing the Holocaust while simultaneously demonizing people who find themselves in the unfortunate situation where they have to get an abortion or they choose to get an abortion, right? Like, I feel like I understand the impulse, right? That abortion is like this kind of thing. And I understand that impulse of like, no, every baby should come into the world and have and everything should be beautiful and there are rainbows and sunshine, but it's childish, right? It doesn't actually acknowledge that reality is real. It doesn't actually acknowledge that there are many different things that can occur to a person. It doesn't acknowledge the difficult position of a person who is going to get an abortion. And on top of that, it's always telling that these anti-abortion people, right? They don't actually give a fuck about these babies. Like, they don't give a fuck at all, right? And at the end of the day, it's just a form of misogyny. It's just a way to maintain control and domination over women. That's what it's for, and it's really obvious that that's the case. And why is it obvious? Because if these guys were actually genuinely concerned about the life of this baby and having this baby come into the world and everything being great, they would be supporting massive support systems for mothers, right? For newborns, for children. They would be supporting massive support systems. They would constantly be saying, like, yes, we don't want you to have an abortion, and then also we want a really robust system of supports so that when you have the kid, you're fully supported and everything's great. And if the kid does have some kind of mental illness or has some kind of disability or something, we're going to have support systems for that. We're all going to come together and ensure that you, the mother, and your newborn are as healthy as can be and are going to come into the society and everything's great. This is not how they fucking talk. That the same people that are saying, you woman, you have to have this baby, also say, now go get a fucking job and don't be lazy, right? And consigning these women to, like, a capitalist hell dystopia. Like, it's just a way for conservatives to continue subjugating women. That's all this is. And like, we should stop pretending it's anything but. We should stop pretending it's anything but. A big fucking surprise, fascists are giving public money to anti-abortion lobbies, right? Bah, 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 bah. Okay, moving over to the Taliban. Before I do this, I'm just gonna run off, take a quick break, and I'm gonna play. I love, by the way, if you guys don't know, there's a new group called the Canadian Elections Ad Archive. They only have 188 subscribers. They're super new. They've been growing pretty quick, though, because it's very straightforward what they do. They take election ads and they put it here, right? Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. Great work, and they do it every time. I am quickly going to play... Sure, let's do this one. This is the Conservative 2001. This is one of their new ads.
The Liberal NDP and Green Alliance have got you on the ropes. Out of control spending. Soaring house prices. Higher living costs. You need to fight back before they hit you again and again and again. We can't afford more of the same. Canada's recovery plan will recover 1 million jobs and balance the budget within 10 years. Secure the future. Vote Conservative.
Oh no, I'm not back. Oh no, the ad ended.
Can you imagine the heartbreak of leading a party leadership convention for 12 straight ballots, only to lose on the unlucky 13th by about 1 percentage point?
What did they play?
That
What
was
did they play?
candidate Maxime Bernier's fate this past
okay.
Saturday night as Saskatchewan MP Andrew
Don't.
Scheer
You know what? I don't mind this
overwhelming-
connection, right? This guy just watched a conservative ad. Let's take him to an old episode of The Agenda with Steve Bacon. That's fine, right? Steve Bacon is kind of he's a conservative, but I feel like he rolls on that, like, he's reasonable. Ruth's putting up messages and retracting them. Ruth's all like, oh good, John's gone. Now's my chance to say something really mean about him and then take it away. He'll never see it. Ruth, I'm on to you. I'm on to you, Ruth.
The Liberal
So this
NDP
ad,
and Green
right?
Alliance have got you on the ropes. Out of control spending.
Out of control spending. Oh,
Soaring house prices.
Soaring house prices. Oh.
Higher living costs.
Oh.
You need to fight back before they hit you again and
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
We can't afford more of the same. Canada's recovery.
The Conservatives are running for the NDP. Don't you think? Like, don't you feel? Like, these Conservative ads might as well be NDP ads. Like, if that ad had have ended here and then it went into Jagmeet Singh, and it was Jagmeet Singh and then it was like the NDP slogan, Secure the future, by the way, literally a fascist slogan, like a well-known neo-Nazi slogan. Unbelievable. Oh, okay. 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 Like, seriously, here's straight up the NDP Same story.
Want you to see this. He voted against taxing the ultra-rich to help the rest of us.
Je vote contre la motion.
He says the right thing at election time, but he has no intention of doing it.
Ready for better? We're ready too.
Right? Like, if you took that Ready for Better clip and you put it at the end of this, right? You'd be like, this is the same fucking party, as far as you're concerned. Right? It just depends, are you willing to vote for a brown guy in a turban with a big giant beard, or are you okay with voting for a neo-Nazi? Right? Those are your sort of your options right now. It's against his religion to use violence, I believe. Oh, touche, Ruth. Touche. I think you're right about that, actually. That, like, that kind of aggressive punching sort of thing, right? And you're right about that, too. Like, I mean, it's only the conservatives that could get away with, like, this boxer and this kind of fighting analogy, right? Because, like, I've said it before, right? The NDP, they can't do that shit with Jagmeet because people are going to get spooked away, right? They're going to see Jagmeet and be like, oh, scary man in a turban with a beard! Oh, with the punching! And, like, can you imagine? Like, there'd be some stupid pundit somewhere. Like, who would they get? Probably Kelly McParland. Kelly McParland is exactly the guy that they would do. If you guys don't know who Kelly McParland is he's not a columnist, but he writes a lot for the National Post. I see him vomiting all the time in the National Post, and I love reading his shit because he sounds like Ursula. He sounds like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Let me see if I can. Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. Kelly McParland. Like any article. Any article. Oh, here you go. See? Nova Scotia election shows how Trudeau could meet his doom. Right? I love Kelly McParland for this. He's a total fucking hack. He's a total far-right neoliberal, like neocon, all the fucking way. When Nova Scotia's Liberal Premier chose to call an election in the midst of the pandemic, word on the street was that federal forces might want to keep their eye on this baby, just in case something unexpected arose. It could, observers suggested, prove a harbinger of things to come. I just love him. I love the way he's decided to write. He's obviously like he's like a Disney villain. Like he's like a Disney villain the way he writes. It's just, and it's so like on the nose. Anyway, Kelly McParland, I just love him. How'd I even get on? Oh yeah. So Kelly McParland would for sure grab on to like Jagmeet Singh's new ad, aggressive fighting stance. Scary man in turban wants to fight us. They voted him because he was a local and they knew him. Yeah, well, and like, let's be straight up about what happened with Jagmeet Singh. Like, what happened with Jagmeet Singh is I think the Sikh community saw an opportunity. They saw that the NDP was weak. They understood that, like, the Sikh community is tight and has, like, a good organizational structure as it is already. And Jagmeet was already in politics. And he just went around to this community of, like, tight-knit people based on, you know, their kind of niche thing. And he said, if you guys all come out, you all register for the NDP, we can take over this political party and we can get involved in politics, in federal politics. And I think they bit, right? And at the end of the day, Jagmeet was just more organized and was able to galvanize a portion of the society in order to attain power of the federal party. Like, that is how you take over these parties, right? Like, if suddenly I had, let's say I had 1 million subscribers, okay? Let's live in a fantasy world where things are beautiful and I'm the king of the world. If I had 1 million subscribers and I started to say on my channel and through my Twitter and all this kind of stuff, hey guys, let's all go into the NDP, let's take over the NDP. Let's say that Jagmeet Singh suddenly has like this enormously catastrophic thing where he drops and he's lost a ton of seats and he's out and they're having a leadership convention. And I literally was just like, hey guys, I'm going to go try to be the leader of the NDP. Just come and vote. And literally 1 million people showed up, joined the NDP, and voted for me. I would win. Because at the end of the day, fundamentally, all politics is a numbers game. It's always that way. It's always been that way, right? That if they come in with 1,000 people and you come in with 10,000 people, you win. And there's no way to bullshit yourself around that. Like, sure, you can fudge the numbers here. Sure, you can, like, kind of do this. Sure, you can, like, oh, we're going to close the polls early, or we're going to try to manipulate all that kind of stuff. If they show up with 1,000 people and you show up with 10,000 people, you win. That's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. And so what I'm saying, guys, is that you should elect me to be the Prime Minister of Canada. What do you think? Let's do it. Let's make me the Prime Minister of Canada. I feel like that would be a hilarious prank. Like I'd be the joke Prime Minister. Okay, right. This is what I really want to talk about. So, as we all know, the Taliban has taken over Afghanistan. Everything that I'm reading about it, did I save that one? No, of course I didn't. So everything I've been reading about it is that the way the Taliban has done this is that they essentially were the force that was going around and talking to all of the other kind of political groups that exist within Afghanistan. That there are communist groups that live in Afghanistan. There are Christian groups that live in Afghanistan. There are lots of different, just like our society, they are as diverse as anyone else, right? And they've got many ways of looking at the world and many people living there. But it was the Taliban that was the one that was going around and talking to each group, and they were able to do that because they were the most militant, and so they were the ones that could move with more safety and freedom and organize. And they basically just created a series of agreements with everybody over the last 2 years, as it was seeming like the Americans were going to leave at any time. Trump was trying to leave. Trump was actually negotiating with the Taliban, right? And then finally Biden pulls out. And so the Taliban moved in and did exactly what it said it was going to do. And the Afghanistan people, all of these sort of groups that existed all around Afghanistan, made good on their promise, basically. And just said, yeah, okay. We agreed. We're going to let you guys go in. We're not going to fight, because that essentially is a civil war, right? That would be a fight amongst ourselves. And so they just said, no. We'll just let it happen and then see what we can do from there. And maybe we can negotiate with these Taliban. Maybe we can build some kind of agreement and some kind of thing. Maybe the Taliban is going to make some good decisions. Who knows, right? It's been 20 years, guys. It's been 20 years. The Taliban that exists today is not the Taliban of 20 years ago. Simply based on the demographic shifts, right? It's a different organization by definition. And near as I can tell, the Taliban is the same as the GOP. I don't see much of a difference between the Taliban and the GOP. If somebody could tell me what the difference is, I would love to see it. But so far, they seem to be about on the same playing field, right? And if the Americans are struggling with the GOP, well, then the Afghani people, especially after a fucking war, they can struggle with the Taliban. Now, this headline is super important. The Taliban plans to ban drugs in Afghanistan. That could change the world for the worse. Of course, this is a Western headline, right? After the Taliban's opium ban in the 2000s, a heroin drought in Estonia led underworld chemists to start manufacturing fentanyl, because that's Afghanistan's fault, right? So, Afghanistan is one of the largest producers of opium, right? Which is what you use for heroin and all this kind of stuff. Creating enormous heroin epidemics throughout the United States and opiate epidemics throughout the United States. And it's all erected and supported by the CIA, right? That the CIA is planting big poppy fields throughout Afghanistan and doing all of that kind of stuff. And the Taliban plan to put a stop to it, as they did back in the 2000s, right? This actually really plays really tightly with a relationship with China, because China had enormous drug problems with opium, right? That during the century of humiliation, there was huge drug use and huge problems. And the British were funneling tons of opium into China, and were using it as a way to destroy the populace, right? Get people hooked to opium, get people hooked to this stuff, and they were doing it on purpose. And so the Taliban banning opium production in its own borders is something that the Chinese are actually going to be really in favor of. And it's yet again another opportunity for China and Afghanistan to kind of become bros with one another, and for Afghanistan to become wealthy because of their a connection to the Belt and Road Initiative. So, will it be effective? We'll see. Will they reform it? We'll see. Heroin is a problem, for sure. I don't think that anybody in Afghanistan is actually all that happy that they were the primary producer of heroin and opium in the world. So something like this, it's definitely going to ease up what's going on throughout the United States. There's enormous amount of opium abuse going on in the United States. And you just kind of cut off the source, right? Well, what do you think's going to happen? All right. I hope you guys are all doing well out there, man. What a time to be alive, eh? What a time to be alive. Oil industry lobbied Trudeau government more than Harper government. Lobbying data points to emergence of a deep oil state, Warren analysis. Canada's fossil fuel industry had more meetings with the Liberal government of Justin Trudeau than it did with the former Conservative government of Stephen Harper, lobbying data reveals. During Justin Trudeau's 6 years in power, lobbying by oil and gas companies and their associations increased by 10% overall, raising concerns amongst environmental organizations that the frequent contact has undermined government climate action. Oh yeah, you think? According to Lobby Registry, government officials were lobbied on 6,874 unique occasions between Trudeau's election in 2015 and this spring, representing an average of 5 lobbying contracts per working day, and significantly more than other industries. With this rate of lobbying, it's no wonder Canada continues to refuse to take bold climate action, said Julia Levin, Climate and Energy Senior Program Manager at Environmental Defense. We continue to give more subsidies and public financing to the oil and gas sector than other G20 countries, and continue to put forward climate targets and plans that don't address the elephant in the room, which is the oil and gas sector. Extracting and refining oil and gas is the largest and fastest growing source of carbon emissions in Canada, according to the federal government's inventory. These emissions will cause Canada to miss its Paris Agreement target of a 40% reduction by 2030. Yeah. In a notable shift from the Harper era, senior government bureaucrats and hired political staffers, rather than elected members of parliament, have become the primary focus of lobbying under the Trudeau government. According to the data assessed by The Breach, oil lobbyists also appear to have targeted certain senior civil servants who remained in their positions after the 2015 transfer of power from Conservatives to Liberals. Some analysts describe this as a sign of the emergence of a deep oil state, in which the state and private corporate interests are increasingly integrated. And we're aware of what that is, right? When corporate interests and the state merge, that's called fascism. We're well aware of what that means. It suggests that elite policy networks outlast election cycles and potentially the stated platforms of elected officials, said William Carroll, a professor of sociology at the University of Victoria and co-director of the Corporate Mapping Project, who has studied the impact of lobbying on federal policy. Lobbying is defined as communication with public officials about the legislation or government contracts or granting. Lobbyists are prohibited from giving gifts, though individuals working for firms that hire lobbyists often donate to political parties. So here we've got a graph here, the Harper government, right, you see, and then up she goes, oh, back down, back up, back down. The lobbying offensive. Oh, so this goes on and on and on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's take a look at some of these graphs, right? So percentage of lobbying contracts, parliamentarian, has actually decreased, right? Mid-level staff, though. So lots of mid-level staff getting hit more and more, because the oil sector is trying to find out what's the most effective way to do this. What's the most effective way to infect this procedure? right? You're not going to go after a junior level staff, right? You're not even interested in the top bureaucrats, really. And the parliamentarians, no. It's the mid-level staff, right? It's your middle managers, right? Your middle managers. These are the people. Because these are the people who are going to be talking down, and these are the people that are going to be talking up. And if they're talking a pro-oil game all the time, then you can infect the discourse more steadily and more accurately. Another good graph. Wow, what happened here? Lobbying contacts, right? Boom, the Mining Association of Canada. Canada, it has about 80% of the 80% of mining companies, it's like 75 to 80%, are based here in Canada, right? So this is not surprising at all that like 2017, 2019, boom. And why did it decline? Because they got what they wanted, right? And what's the yellow line? Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, right? Same story. Boom, they got what they wanted, boom. Yeah, pandemic uptick. Well, and especially because like the pandemic hits and everybody needs to consolidate, right? Consolidate power, because pandemics and things like this. The Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy Program permitted oil and gas companies to collect the subsidy and use it to pay out millions in dividends to shareholders. Another form of financial support came in the form of the Corporate Bond Purchasing Program, which facilitated the purchase of bonds in secondary market to rescue industries like the oil and gas sector. Like, I don't understand why these guys are pretending like they give a shit about free market capitalism. Every single time that their company is going to go under because they've mismanaged it and because capitalists collapse things and that's how it works, right? Well, if we lived in a free market capitalist system, we would let it collapse. We would be like, okay, bye-bye, right? That never happens, right? They go crying to the government, and the government goes, oh, poor baby, and then gives our money to them to continue propping up their failed project, right? That's how it works. That's how it works. Oh, yes. This comes from Now Magazine. Toronto restaurants are having a hiring program, and it goes way beyond CERB. They point out that according to association and advocacy group restaurants, based on data from Statistics Canada, there are not nearly 230,000 fewer workers in the food sector service than before. And it's because people are incredibly tired of actually dealing with these exploitive work environments, right? Rather than framing it as a labor shortage issue, I'd say it's really just a shortage of restaurants that provide decent work, she says. This is Rebecca Gordon, a member of the Canadian Restaurant Workers Coalition. Restaurants that are respectful and value workers as humans. My entire adult life has been serving coffee or serving small plates at tables. Martin says she's worked at jobs full of safety violations. They've worked at places with abusive managers and at places where they were also asked to put in hours and hours of extra work for no pay. She also worked at jobs that feel fun and rewarding. Like, this is more a cultural issue than anything else. Like, we've got to treat people with respect and dignity. We've got to actually give a shit about caring about one another, right? Do we? Like, do we? That seems to be the question that we're struggling with. Do we actually genuinely give a shit if the person who lives in the unit next to us or who lives the door down from us, do we actually give a shit if how their life is going? Are we hopeful that they're having a good time? Do we even think about them? Do we care? Right? I mean, we're so isolated. We don't even know our neighbors, right? Like, no, such a situation. All right, so we're at the 7:15 mark. I'm gonna play my song, like I have been wont to do. I really love this song. If you haven't heard it, I think that this song is a powerful weapon against the capitalist death cult. I hope you enjoy it. This is called Antarctica is Covered in Ice. Got asked a question by my niece who's 5 years old. What's the world gonna look like when I'm grown? I looked up at the crimson smoke-filled sky. I thought, what's the harm of telling one more lie? I said, everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? The burning sun won't leave a paper trail. Why work so hard if it's too big to fail? And what's the point of feeding this machine if it won't make the world in our dreams, where everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets? You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? And I know one day my maker I will meet, when death's sweet kiss comes to sweep me off my feet. I hope by then we've learned a little more. I'd like to leave this place better than before, where everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice. Everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? When everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? And I believe that we can do it. For all of the doom and the gloom and the disappointments and the failures that I'm seeing, I still know that we can do it. And I know that we can do it because it's easy for us to do on our end. All we have to do is stop. We have to acknowledge that we are waging a war against the earth itself, and it is a war that we will not win. And all we have to do is stop. And when we stop, no matter how bad it gets, when we stop, we will stand back in awe and bear witness to the miracle of the earth itself healing. The earth wants to be a garden. It was a garden before we got here. It'll be a garden when we're gone. And if we want to be here to see that garden flourish, all we have to do is stop. I don't know what it is, but increasingly I'm seeing people that are just clinging on to this fossil fuel mania, and they're clinging on to this. I just am seeing them like I'm looking at and I don't know if I mean to say this as an insult or not, but it's just how I see it. It's just, oh, you're a child. Like, you're just a naive, innocent little baby. You're just a child that is clinging on to the belief that Santa is real, and clinging on to the belief that girls are icky, and all of this kind of childish nonsense that we're just going through right now. And we don't want to acknowledge what is real. We don't really want to grow up. I wish we would. I hope we do. I wish we would. I hope we do. More than anything. Although then sometimes I begin to think, like, what exactly is it I'm fighting for? Like, humans don't have a great track record. Are we really helping things out? Are we really helping things out around here? Yeah. Can't fall into doomerism, unfortunately. I feel like doomerism would be easier, right? Wouldn't it be easy? Wouldn't it be easier to just fall into like this pattern of doomerism? And I feel like that's why there are doomers, right? Because I feel like that's easier. Like you just go buy like your, you get a gun, you buy your your food, right? You got your rations, right? All that. You got a big jug of water. You have that all tucked away somewhere, like emergency supplies or something, right? Make your bunker, right? All that. I just feel like it's like it's a project to kind of busy yourself with, while simultaneously, like, and who knows, could be useful, right? Could be useful. So, NDP outlines plan to make Canada real estate more affordable. This is a real winner for the NDP. Like, I went to a rally recently that was literally a housing rally by people who just like had never been to a rally before. They'd never been to a protest. They had no idea what they were doing, right? In really basic ways. They didn't really understand and many of them I think didn't really understand the purpose of this even. They just kind of knew that we can't do nothing. And you essentially have just like middle class people hanging around and quite a few of them showed up. I was very impressed actually with the turnout for a first time movement. But that should be very troubling for your liberals and your NDP and all of these people, right? Like, your liberals and your conservatives. That should be very troubling that you've got like middle class people who are like taking to the streets because they don't know what else to do, right? Like, if you can't keep your middle class people in line, and like, the new Murrow public opinion poll found that improving the cost of living and affordably is the top election issue. Yeah. And so what's their plan? They're saying things like 20% foreign buyer tax, right? So if you're not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, like, and that's a big jump from the 1% levy the Liberals announced in their budget. Like, yeah, 20%. It's exactly 20% more. Like, and this, I actually really like this 20% number, right? What's my big complaint about the Liberals? My number one complaint is that they're caught in this sort of dumb incrementalism, right? 20% is not incremental. Like, 20% is significant. Like, that's a significant jump. My complaint, of course, is that 20% still doesn't deter billionaires. That's who's doing this. It's the billionaire class. 20% is not going to deter them. They're still going to buy, right? They're still going to do it. Like, and ultimately, even 20% is not going to work, right? Why? Because once you have $1 billion, who gives a fuck, right? Oh, the house is $1 million, and there's a 20% additional tax, so it's going to be 1.2 million. Who gives a fuck? You have $1 billion. Like, who gives a fuck? That doesn't matter at all, right? So it's going to be a nice chunk of change to go into the government, right? It'll be a good way to get money into the government, but like, it's not going to stop the problem. Problem will persist, and the only way to actually solve the problem is to just seize it. Is to just be like, these properties are empty. You're not using them. We're going to transfer them to somebody who's going to use them, right? That's the way to do it. Hey, Dan, how you doing? They only think of middle class, though. There is a large population that vote, but we are always forgotten. Yeah. And I mean, and that turns into a kind of a vicious cycle, doesn't it, Ruth? Right? That why bother talking to the population that doesn't vote because they don't vote? And then, well, why bother voting because they never talk to us? Well, why should we talk to them? They never come and vote. Well, why vote? Because they never talk to us. And around and around and around and around it goes. And you do have about half of the population that doesn't vote, right? Like, straight up, half the population doesn't even engage in this system. And I mean, for good reason. They don't really see that the outcome matters much to their life, right? They don't see much of a difference. Like, Canadians understand intrinsically what I've always said, that there isn't really much of a difference between the Liberals and Conservatives. And if you're just going to pass the ball back and forth between Liberals and Conservatives, well, I still have to go to work. I still go work for these capitalists, so what's it matter? Right? Nobody's standing up being like, hey, let's get rid of the capitalists. I bet you anything, like, if you started going around saying, like, hey, let's get rid of the capitalists, yeah, you'd have a lot of people be like, oh, yeah, okay. I don't have to go work for these fucking psychopaths? Oh, okay, cool. The NDP says its plan also includes targeting money laundering by making it harder to hide behind nameless companies, giving regulators more teeth. Yeah. I mean, honestly, all you have to do is increase the budget of the CRA, right? Like, the Canada Revenue Agency literally cannot do anything. Poor don't vote because there's nobody gives a crap and the libs and cons are cruel. Yeah, I think you're right on the money with that, Ruth. Like, the CRA can't... If you told the CRA to go after David Thompson, right? To like, do an audit of David Thompson... They don't have the resources to do that. They can't do that. That's not something serious. Like, that's a major undertaking. David Thompson is an enormous figure in our economic and political structure. And nobody knows who he is. Because he's actually quite smart, right? He's not an idiot like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and these guys who, like, really want to waggle their dick in front of us. Like, especially Elon Musk. But, like, David Thompson is, like, he's literally a baron, right? Like, his official title is the third Baron of Fleet. That he inherited $1 billion from his father. Like, you want to talk about, like, the example that completely destroys the meritocracy argument. Well, the richest man in Canada is literally an inheritor of $1 billion fortune, and is the richest man in Canada by a wide margin. That, like, Galen Weston and the Weston family are at like 10 billion, and he's sitting there at like 35 billion, and it goes up every year because once you hit like a certain number in the billionaire thing, you can't lose money. It's not possible to lose money because you're such a large part of the economy that unless the economy itself collapses, you're always going to make money because you own so much of the economy, right? And also David Thompson is very clever, and the way he operates with his money is very clever. He doesn't actually own anything, right? He just owns 10% of everything, right? So he owns like 10% of Bell, 10% of Rogers, 10% of TELUS, 10% of Air Canada, 10% of whatever you want, like Future Shop. Like, if it exists in Canada, he owns 10% of it, right? So if suddenly this company collapses or declines in its stock or any of that kind of stuff, well, he doesn't take a big hit because he owns 10% of everything, right? And so everything else kind of floats upwards and that collapses. It's not a big loss, right? So he just continuously makes money, and he doesn't do any work. Like, he doesn't actually, like, give a shit, right? His biggest job is hiring a fucking accountant. Like, that's it. And like, you ask me, like, nobody knows who he is. That's his great achievement. That's the achievement of the Thompsons, that they just, like, stay on the DL. They don't want to put their name on shit. And what they do put their name on is, like, arts buildings and things like this, right? They're like, oh, this was given by the Thompson Foundation, right? But they don't have their fucking name on the side of a building. It's not like Thompson, the way it is like Trump, right? And it's not even like it's not even like the Irvings, right? Irvings have their names plastered on everything on the East Coast, right? No, the Thompsons are very smart. They stay in the background. Nope. Don't even talk about us. We're not even interested. Like, nope, we're not going to give an interview. Nope, we're not going to talk, right? We are just off in the corner. It's like the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds are like that too, and it's very clever, right? The Rothschilds are enormously wealthy family, one of the wealthiest families in the world, and nobody really knows anything about them, and they just stay kind of in the background, and they don't really involve themselves in the day-to-day politics, and they don't do interviews and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, they're one of the primary owners of the Federal Reserve System in the United States, which allows them massive control over the monetary supply and in the Federal Reserve System. Like, they're incredibly wealthy. But, you know, if you don't know who your enemy is, you can't pick up a pitchfork and go do anything about it. That's and the smart billionaires, that's their strategy. That, like, should the populace actually stand up against the billionaire class and start to go against people like Jeff Bezos and start to go against people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, right? That the Rothschilds and the Thompsons of the world will just let that happen. And they'll just be like, oh, okay, good. You go after those guys. Like, that's fine. They're just, like, off on the side, right? They're like, oh, yeah, they've got a big pile of dollars, right? Well, we own the money supply, right? Like, would you prefer to have a large portion of the money supply, or would you prefer to own the money supply? Which one would you prefer? Well, if you're the Rothschilds, you own the money supply, at least in part, with the Rockefellers and the Morgan family, right? It's a cartel. It's a cartel, and there is actually this really great, like, who was it? Was it Andrew Smith? There was one of the presidents in the turn of the 19th century. They had erected this private banking system that the Federal Reserve is a private bank that is owned by these private interests that loans money to the government. That's the arrangement that exists in the United States. And Andrew Jackson, that's who it was, Andrew Jackson, he made it his mission. They attempted to do this once, and he made it his mission to get rid of them, right? And he succeeded. And he actually said on his deathbed, somebody asked him, like, what was your greatest achievement? He said, I killed the bank, right? I killed the bank. And then in and around the 1930s, they tried again and succeeded and privatized the bank again. And that's the situation we find ourselves in right now, that the United States banking system is largely privatized. It is a massive problem. Nobody really, people kind of know about it, but they don't really understand what the implication of it is. And it's just like, well, think about it. If you're constantly, if you're borrowing the money, well, you're borrowing the money at interest, right? But you can never have enough money to pay back that interest, right? You'll never actually have enough money to pay back that interest, because for every dollar that's printed, they expect a return of a certain percentage. And so it means that your currency is destined to collapse. It has to, right? It has to collapse mathematically, because you can never actually pay the loan back. So it's structurally designed to collapse. But the Rothschilds and the Morgans and the Rockefellers, they don't give a fuck. They don't care about that at all, right? Like, the Rothschilds live in Britain, right? They live in Britain. So if the American dollar collapses, they're like, oh, okay, well, back to the British pound, right? They don't give a fuck. Anyway, that's a little storytelling for you guys. Chat's pretty quiet today. I hope you guys are doing well out there. And always remember, capitalism is working perfectly. You're supposed to be exhausted and worried you'll lose your income and die penniless. If it makes it easier to treat you like shit and pay you less. If you're worrying about the rent, you're not focusing on tearing down this unfair system. Yeah. That's essentially articulating something I say here all the time, which is that we don't really have a good meta perspective of what the society looks like, right? That we're focused so much on our day-to-day of just like getting through and getting the rent paid, that we can maybe see till the end of the month, right? That we plan to the end of the month, maybe the end of the next month, if we're lucky. But we don't have a meta perspective of what the political system and the political structure and the economic system actually looks like, right? We don't have that, which is why you have these guys who are pro-capitalist who sound like lunatics, right? That they say the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life, because just get another job, or just get a different job. You're like, well, and all you got to do to sort of rebuff this sort of nonsense is just take their statement and put it in the feudal context. As soon as you take their statement and you put it in the feudal context, you realize how dumb they sound, and it's every time, right? Oh, if you don't like your lord, just get another lord, right? Oh, just work harder, and your lord will reward you, right? It sounds stupid on the face of it, but these guys don't realize that their system is not actually that much different from feudalism, and especially as it collapses back into feudalism, back into a literal form of feudalism, which is exactly where we're headed. What do we got? Yeah. Oh, yes. Here's a great article, actually. I might actually read this whole thing. It's not that long. Toronto's homeless. This is from baytoday.ca by Bob Bruton. Toronto's homeless are moving north, some to Barrie. The City of Toronto and partner agencies do not in any way encourage people to leave Toronto for other municipalities, said spokesperson. Yeah, except they literally, sent throngs and throngs of police at the encampments. Where did they expect these guys to go? Right, what do you think was going to happen to these displaced homeless after the cops started beating the shit out of them? What do you think was going to happen? Toronto's homeless are moving north, some to Barrie. That's what we're getting from some individuals that are here, saying that they were staying in a tent city in Toronto and were displaced, so they decided to move north. Busby Center Executive Director Sarah Peddle told Barry Today, "We have noticed in the last week that there has been a bit of an increase from those people self-disclosing that they are coming from Toronto. The City of Toronto has enforced 3 trespass notices, clearing homeless encampments at Trinity Bellwoods in June, Alexandria Park, and Lamport Stadium Park in July. Every person leaving an encampment may choose to stay in Toronto, or to leave the city based on their own unique circumstances," said Anthony Todarian, Senior Communications Advisor to the City of Toronto. "The City of Toronto and partner agencies do not in any way encourage people to leave Toronto for other municipalities, except with police force." Right? I would say that police force is an encouragement. Don't you think? That if you were like living in a tent city, you were living in an encampment, and then 100 police descended and knocked the shit out of you and forced you off that land, wouldn't you say that that's an encouragement to leave Toronto? I think that that's pretty strongly an encouragement to leave Toronto. Peddle says she has no information that Toronto's homeless are being sent north. "I've not heard anything of that type of nature. It's more that there wasn't anywhere for them to go where they wouldn't be potentially harassed," she said. Yeah. Peddle emphasized Busby's officials can't confirm where the homeless are from, be it from Toronto or other cities, but that's what we're getting from them. Yeah, right, like Peddle emphasized Busby officials can't confirm where the homeless are from, because we don't actually talk to these guys, nor do we care about their opinions. But that's what we're getting from them. Oh, look, we talked to them. Look what they say. Self-disclosing they're from Toronto. I would say it's more than usual in the last week or so, we've noticed. Well, because it takes them time, right? It's not like they're going to hop a bus, right? That they're like shambling in that direction, right? I don't have an exact number, Peddle added. We've seen an increase in the number of people our outreach team is seeing, like some new faces, though I don't have the exact number. But the Toronto specific number, I'm not sure. Yeah, because they haven't been keeping track of it because they're dealing with a fucking crisis. Right? They're not going to sit there and be like, oh, check mark. We know that there has been some dismantling the tent cities in Toronto. That's what's being shared with us, and they're coming up from those areas. Todarian said the City of Toronto continues to engage with people experiencing homelessness, including those encampments, to encourage them to accept safe indoor space from the city, offer them the supports they need, and ultimately secure permanent housing. Ruth, you're saying my son paid $300K less for his house in Barrie than Toronto. Well, and he's just getting into the he's getting into that like window, right? That pricing in places like Barrie and places everywhere else is going to get outrageous too. Like, you know, things are bad because housing prices are even going up in Manitoba, dude. Like, I talk to people in Manitoba and they're saying, yeah, housing prices are going crazy. It's like, yeah. Like, yeah. It's just getting to be absurd, man. Like, imagine living and growing up in the city of Toronto and then being told to get fucking lost. Like, when it comes time to buy a house. Like, brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. We've seen lots of people that have jobs from the COVID situation, lost income where they've lost their housing, and things are just becoming more and more out of everybody's price range. So if you're on social assistance, it's not even competitive. Because to get a room in a house is around $700 a month, and Ontario Works is only $700. They only get $394 towards housing, so it's definitely out of reach for people. And there's not a lot of subsidies for people to get assistance, she added. Then you have the working poor, where people are trying to make a living, working part-time and stuff like that, but still can't afford housing, Peddle said. We are paying a living wage, and some of our Busby staff are having a hard time finding housing. It's just completely out of whack right now. The November 2020 homeless enumeration from multiple sources which deal with homelessness showed 563 people in Simcoe County experienced homelessness, and that 49%, or 276 homeless people, were from Barrie. The Busby Center is a community, not-for-profit organization which advocates for and improves the lives of individuals and families within Simcoe Country who are experiencing homelessness, who are at risk of homelessness. And we can resolve it. It'd be easy to do, right? We just keep sucking capitalist dick. Like, that's it. We're just like, oh yeah, Thompsons, yeah, you're the best. Get the fuck out of here. Oh yeah, here's a tweet from Jeff Bezos. We all got the same 24 hours. No, we don't. If you have 1,000 slaves, that means you have 2,424 hours. If you don't own any slaves, that means you have 24 hours. Right? That, like, you're enslaving people, they work for you, they're wage slaves, they have nowhere else to go. That's the system, that's the structure. So that means that for every person that works for you, you're taking their time. You get their time siphoned away. Right? You're seeing the delusion, right? Like, people like Jeff Bezos are fucking deluded. If they believe it, right? Either they're complete and total grifters and completely lying, or they're completely delusional. And you can see it right here. Like, literally the same guy that said of his space flight that, thanks to all my employees and my customers, you're the ones that are responsible for this, but, oh, we all got the same 24 hours. It's just fucking deluded shit. If we stopped buying $55 billion military planes, everybody would be covered. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, if we just stopped. If we just stopped focusing on the nonsense. And it is nonsense. Like, and like, what are we so fucking scared of? This is the thing that really kills me. Like, what are we so fucking scared of? Like, if the American military is better funded than the next 11 nations combined. And that includes China, right? And if you actually factor in the amount of spending they put into their police services, it's like the next 20. Like, what are we so fucking terrified of? Exactly. Like, what exactly are we supposed to be scared of here? Like, when I look at the big boogeyman that everybody's supposed to be like, oh my god, there are demons, like the Taliban. I'm like, they look like the GOP to me. Like, what are we supposed to be scared of here? It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And meanwhile, all of this military expenditure and all this military movement is one of the biggest polluters that we are doing. Like, it's one of the biggest pollutants that we do. It's polluting to move a fucking carrier across the Atlantic, right? It's polluting to have like a jet fighter flying through the sky, right? That pollutes. And we just don't seem to give a fuck about any of that, which is weird. Like, it's just weird. And like every single time, like we come out for like Canada Day or Independence Day or whatever day you like, and there's like jet fighters flying in the sky, and I'm just like, man, we really are children. Like, these are just fucking toys, right? That we're just being, and it's the same people that are walking around preaching a gospel of personal responsibility are not taking any responsibility at all, right? They're not sharing their toys. And they're not being respectful or careful with how they use their toys. But it's not bad enough to do something or people would. I mean, it's going to get worse. It's going to get much, much worse. And like, by the time it gets bad enough to mobilize people to do something, it might be too late, right? If you're only going to mobilize after the crops burn down, well, tough tits. Here's a great example of some capitalist efficiency for you guys. Maker of popular COVID test told factory to destroy inventory. One of the leading producers of rapid tests purged supplies and laid off workers as sales dwindled. Weeks later, the U.S. is facing a surge in infections with diminished capacity. So literally, they just like destroyed their inventory of these COVID tests because sales were down, right? All that, we gotta get rid of the supply. Because you got to manufacture scarcity, right? That's how capitalists actually manipulate prices. It's the same story as what happened with the diamonds, right? That throughout like this 50s, 60s, and 70s and into the 80s, the diamond market, like, oh, diamonds are so expensive and oh, they're so ridiculous, all this kind of stuff. But when you actually looked at how much supply they actually had, that diamonds were actually more common than the cubic zirconia, which was considered like the fake diamond, right? But there was less cubic zirconia than there were diamonds, right? And so what were they doing? Well, they were just hoarding the supply, right? They were just hoarding the supply. They were manufacturing scarcity. And so that's what they're doing now. Just manufacture scarcity. And this is what capitalism is doing, right? It's the only way that it can actually justify its existence in this quote-unquote neoliberal economy, which is not an economy. It's a religious ideology. That the worst thing that could possibly happen for capitalists would be if everybody had, if there was enough housing and if there was enough food for everybody, right? Because if there was a boom of supply of housing and a boom of supply of food and everybody had access to it and there was that plus more, well, prices would plummet, right? So you've got to manufacture scarcity. You can't let everybody eat. You can't let everybody live in a house, right? You've got to manufacture scarcity. And it's this manufacturing of scarcity that's leading to all of these problems. And if we just stopped manufacturing the scarcity, well, then all of it would stop. But for some reason, we seem to think billionaires are useful. I'm actually in the midst of writing a song right now that's entitled "Thank God We Have the Billionaires." Right? And it's all going to be like, oh, well, the society's collapsing and you know, you can't find food and there are homeless people and you know, you can't get any benefits and you're never going to be able to retire and on and on and on. But thank God we've got those billionaires. Oh, man. Thank God we've got those billionaires. It's going to be like a classic country, sort of Willie Nelson style tune, I think. We'll see. What the heck is this? What do I got? Oh, yeah, okay. So here's a good time to open up Google Maps. As I do. So Xi Jinping has called for a steady development of the China-Iran partnership. Right? That President Xi Jinping has said Wednesday that China stands ready to work with Iran to push for steady and sustained development of their comprehensive strategic partnership. The timing of this, of course, what with the American withdrawal from Afghanistan, I mean, what do we notice? Right? There's Iran, there's Afghanistan, there's China, right? So China is attempting to shore up Iran's support, and this is actually really important to do because there could be a border conflict between Iran and Afghanistan, right? That these two forces could come in conflict with one another. So China is really signaling, like, hey, Iran, let's all bro down with Afghanistan. Let's all buddy up, be really nice, right? Be really sweet if we could go right? Connect a rail to Kabul and then get that rail connected probably to like Mashhad, right? Get the rail up connected to Mashhad and then from Mashhad over to Tehran. And that would be a huge boon for Mashhad, actually. Talk about economic growth of Mashhad. Like, enormous. And then Mashhad could be a great place to connect and get up into this area, up into places like Ashgabat or Samarkand, right? Get up into this area. Spread that rail around. So you could really be looking at like a pretty tight allegiance, like, boom, between all of this. Ruth, you're saying probably pretty close right now. Hope they go broke. Do you mean the United States? I think it's an inevitability at this point. Like, the United States is like, people just need to stop trading in the dollar, and that'll be the end of it, right? If they start trading in the Canada-Russian currency, the renminbi, like, and they just stop trading in the dollar, that's it. There's a program that is trying to help people start co-ops. Yeah, nice. Or let's shut the U.S. down. I can't help but feel like they're going to shut themselves down, dude. Like, it's they're just going to have... And, like, what do you do about this? What do you do about a society that has lost its economic power, that's lost its reputation on the world stage, that's lost its prestige, but still has all the nukes, right? That still has all of this military, right? Like, ugh. So one hopes that as this develops, that it actually develops fairly peacefully, like relatively peacefully. Because God knows that the United States is not developing peacefully. that it's just turned into like a total clusterfuck. Oh yeah, here's a great graph. The Liberal Party destroyed social housing, right? You see up here in 72, right? This is the number of social housing units, right? Declines. Oh, back up it goes. Okay, back down it goes. Back up, back down, back up, and then just like boom, right in the Chrétien years, right? 94, 96, 98. Like the Mulroney years, it had a bit of a decline. Kind of pops back up, right? I should be clear, actually. That's not fair. Like, Jean Chrétien is about here. I still think that Jean Chrétien had a pretty... Like, he kept us out of the Iraq War. Like, I think he still had a fairly progressive vision of Canada. To a degree, right? You can critique Chrétien. There are things to critique. But then, Paul Martin and the neoliberal period just takes over. Look at this. Like, look at this, man. It's a total fucking disaster. And of course, they point out that thanks to Jack Layton's minority, they get a little bit more, but it disappears really quickly. Right? Social housing units built by year. Yeah, dude. Like, if your government just forgets what its role is, which is to take care of its people, let them fall. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think people will start moving out of the country. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the wealthy might, right? But like, what are poor people going to do? Right? Like, they can't move, right? So you're just going to have like the United States is facing a genuine century of humiliation. Like, that's what it's facing. It's facing like a genuine, like, an entire century of just like being left out, being no longer included, being separated. The United States is going to be put into the corner. And unfortunately here in Canada, we're going into the corner with them. That like that this chunk of the world, which is the vast majority of the world, is going to move on without us. And we're going to just be the annoying fucking nuisance. There's going to be always the annoying... We're just going to be the annoying fucking nuisance that comes over and meddles. We're just constantly going to be meddling. We're just constantly going to be getting in the way. We're just constantly going to be a problem. And eventually, most of the world is just going to be like, do not deal with these guys. Right? That as the United States puts on more and more sanctions, right? So if you sanction China and you sanction Russia and you sanction Afghanistan and you sanction Iran and you sanction India and you sanction Thailand and you sanction Africa and you sanction Europe and you sanction this and you sanction that, if you sanction everybody, dude, where does that put you? Right? And that's where they're headed. Right? And you sanction Brazil and you sanction Bolivia, you sanction all these guys. Like, where does it put you? And this is where they're headed, for sure. For sure. Like, and the only way that they can gain any more respectability, in my view, is if they start reconciling the reality of how they've been acting for the last 50 years with the attitude and opinion that the world has of that. If they start apologizing, if they start de-escalating, right? If the United States genuinely stood up and said, holy shit, we've been acting like assholes, and it is time to de-escalate, and if they started dismantling their nuclear weapons pile, which both the Russians and the Chinese have requested, both the Russians and the Chinese have said, hey, I would absolutely get on board with decommissioning nuclear weapons, with denuclearizing. We would absolutely be on board for that. Right? That's not what the United States is doing. The United States is building more. They're investing more research and development in nuclear technology. They're building bigger, better nukes. Right? Well, I think due to climate change, there won't be a North America left. It's certainly going to change. I was talking to my brother about this very thing, and like this, like Florida will be like there will be states that will be gone, right? That they just won't be considered livable, right? Like the city of New York, like, there's no way Long Island is not going to get eaten up, right? There's no way that this place doesn't get eaten up. Same story with, like, New Jersey, Delaware, all along the border here, right? You're going to see tons and tons of water go up, but there's still going to be the internal places like Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Wyoming. Like, those places will still be around, right? And the population will migrate inward. But, like, you're genuinely going to be looking at some very serious balkanization, I think, that's going to happen in the United States. Large sections of the United States population already wants to declare their independence, right? Huge sections. And what with the Brexit movement and all that kind of stuff, and, like, places like Alberta have a Brexit movement, and so does California, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all of them do. The movement is there. People want to do it. And should some large-scale natural disaster kind of event occur, like the water levels going up, well, people are going to be more like, and because everybody knows what's going to happen, like, because we saw it happen in New Orleans, right? There was a big fucking hurricane, it wiped New Orleans out, right? And the federal government basically abandoned it, right? Same exact thing happened along the East Coast, right? When this territory, the Sandy Hook territory, we all remember Sandy Hook, all along here, right? When this gets hit, they just abandon it. You can go down here and you'll see it's still a fucking disaster. It's still just completely wiped out. They didn't go back in and rebuild or invest or any of that shit. They just abandoned it. Like, that's going to be the federal government's response. And so eventually there comes a point where you just have to start asking, like, why are we paying taxes to these guys? What's the fucking point of that? And that's when shit's going to get real for the Americans. When it starts to balkanize, when it starts to break apart, like when Texas breaks up and when California breaks off, and when these places, yeah, but people are still buying near the water. Yeah, there's a sucker born every minute, dude. There's people in Florida, as mass death occurs around them, there's large segments of the Florida population still walking around saying that COVID is a hoax. There's a sucker born every minute. Like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course people are still buying near the water. Oh, it's climate change is a Chinese hoax to get us to stop living in freedom. And I'm here to live in freedom, and I'm going to not be afraid of the Chinese, even though I've completely defined my entire personality around hating the Chinese. But I'm not going to let them stop me from doing something self-destructive that's 100% going to lead to the destruction of myself and my family and my children and future generations. No siree. Because I am free, God-fearing American, even though I don't even read the book. But hey, you know, I should say it, because it's important to say these things, and even if you don't believe them. I got my gun, I got my beer, I got my freedom, America. Like, and everything I just said right there, you know, even though I was completely lampooning it, right? That's not much different. It's not far off the mark. I mean, these people are fucking, like, we're in a crisis, and it's an enormous crisis, and people like that are just going to get completely fucking railroaded, like they're being railroaded right now. Like, COVID's going through and killing these guys, man. No, this island system's screwed too, dude. Like, I hate to say it. I love Cuba. My heart goes out to the Haitian people, the Dominican Republic, and all this kind of stuff. Water levels go up. You want to talk about countries that are just no longer going to exist? Cuba's not going to exist, dude. It's going to go underwater. It's going to be a massive, massive crisis for them. Like, if I was like the government of Cuba, I would be doing everything I could to be like, okay, we need to be in talks, serious talks about where do our people go? Like, where are we going to put them? Like, because the island's going to sink. Like, it's going down. Like, what's the... I wish I had, like, a really good sea level map, you know what I mean? Like, how high... What's the elevation here? That'd be really great to see. Can I see that? Is that something? Oh. View topography and elevation. Yes, please. I would like that. But like, yeah, like they've got beaches. Like, look at this territory, right? It's right down on the water. Yep, all those places. All of these places. Like, the mountain regions will stick around, right? The mountain regions will stick around. But like all this, like anything that you're looking at that's got this kind of like light green sort of look about it, that's toast. Right? It's toast. Like these beaches, are you kidding me? Beaches? I mean, they'll still be beaches, but they'll just be in different spots. And Miami's toast, dude. Like Miami's toast. There's no... You're not going to come back from it. Mexico's an interesting kind of case because it's so mountainous, you can see, right? Big mountain system. So the water is going to come up, but it's only going to screw over these kind of small towns, small communities, right? And they'll just retreat into the mountains or go to Durango or any of that kind of stuff. So Mexico will see. I do wonder, because this is all mountain, right? So all of this is going to get flooded in, but like the mountain range will still be there. But then you come down here, right? Here's some low-lying ground. So suddenly are people going to be able, like, you got the Panama Canal, right? You got the Panama Canal so that people can, like, put boats through this territory. But now you're not going to need that canal, right? Like, Nicaragua's just going to be, like, underwater. So you just, like, float a boat through, right? It's going to reform, it's going to redraw the map, right? That the map of the world is going to look completely different. That will show people what the world used to look like. Will show kids what the world used to look like, and they'll be like, wow, like it's completely different. And like all of this, like Melbourne is going to eat it. Yeah, all the major cities around the outside, well, which makes sense, right? Because they were like, you know, I've got boats, let's land here on the coast, build a city on the coast, big fishing, right? Natural resources, all that kind of stuff. It's also a good way to get a port and like send critters out. Can you hear that, by the way, Ruth? You hear the cicada? Are you hearing this? Man, that's how hot it is. Got a screaming bug out there. Me too, cicada. Me too. Like, and so the question is like, how fast is it going to happen, right? I've talked to people who said like, no, it's only going to happen like very steadily over time. That'll be like a slow kind of lean in. And I'm just like, I don't think that's how the world works, right? Like, I genuinely think that nature basically like, it kind of steadily moves in a direction and then goes boom, and then a shit ton of stuff happens all at once. Like, I look at it the way like wildfires work, right? That you can have a forest that's steadily building up material and steadily drying and incrementally and all that kind of stuff. But when the fire comes through, that happens very quickly. That's not incremental. There is a world map of flooded areas. Is there now? World map of flooded areas. Here we go, man. Here we go. Of course there is. I should have known. Whoa. Hold on. What's Flood Map Pro? Interactive flood map. Interactive elevation map. Start your 7-day trial today. Capitalism. Ruining everything since the inception. I don't really know. Oh, I see. This is at like 400 meters. Okay. No. So if we set it at 0, then that's normal. Right? Everything's normal. And this is meters. So let's put it up 1 meter. Right? That's like 3 feet. Right? So 1 meter. Set. Oh yeah. Not too damaging, it doesn't look like. If it goes up 1 meter, what's eating it? Here, let's go to my favorite place to go. New York. There we go, Long Island. Right? So if we go... Yeah, this is good fun. So let's set it at 0. Okay. And then it goes up... Whoops. Then it goes up 1 meter. Set. Well, that hasn't really changed anything. Hold on. Am I losing my mind? Am I doing this right? Let's set it to 5 meters. Set. No, I'm doing something wrong. 5 meters is a lot, dude. There's no way that it would be nothing. I'm doing something wrong. 10. When does this get underwater? Yeah, there you go. 100 meters. Come on, that's forever. I'm doing something wrong. 10, 20. Yeah, at 20 meters. Look at that. 20. So let's go back down to 15. I mean, yeah. Like, this is a disaster, right? Even at 15. But, like, if we go back down to 10, like, that's a disaster already for New York. Yeah, check it. Check it. So we go back down to 5. Oh, yeah. We're getting real specific. Yeah, 5 meters basically wipes all this out, right? So you got Long Beach, right? You got all of this here. Oh, this is a great map. This is a great map. What happens? Let's take a look at 1 meter. Okay, here we go. So with 1 meter, you're already seeing, right? 1 meter. Oh, yeah, this map's great. This eats the coasts up, man. Like this, and this is major infrastructure. This is like ports. This is like all this kind of stuff. 2.5 feet a meter. No, this map is great. This map is great. I figured it out. I figured it out. And you can see, though, how the water, like, it gets into these waterways, right? And starts screwing with places along the river system, right? That's something that people, oh, you know what? I live in Toronto. Let's go. Let's go. Let's really scare myself. So at 1 meter, doesn't look like there's a big shift. Let's go crazy. Let's just be like 100. And how bad does it get? Set. Yeah, that's looking pretty bad for Toronto at 100 feet. But still. Because, like, if it's at, like, 5 meters, that doesn't seem so... It's because it's a lake system, right? So it's more evenly distributed. Whereas at 5 meters, like, New York's essentially underwater, right? Like, at 5 meters, look at this. Newark's screwed. Oh, yeah. Anybody want me to check a place out? What do you want me to look at? If Onward was in the chat, I'd be looking at Florida. Yeah, look at Florida. Like, look at Florida. Even at a meter. Right? Like, this is a disaster for Miami. Oh, yeah, dude. Look at this. Like, look at this. This is a catastrophe. This is a catastrophe. Right? Like... Okay, there's got to be a better map than this. You're right. Sorry for those of you who... here, let's... I bet you anything there's a better map. Oh, here you go. This one's in inches. Oh, yeah, here we go. What happens if sea levels rise by 18 inches? So let's go 6 inches just to see... Oops. What am I doing? Okay, I gotta do that. Okay, so Victoria... Dan, you want Victoria? Yeah, this is a better map because it's being way more like explicit about what's going on. So let's get to Victoria. Victoria. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing to me? Victoria. Let's really zoom in on Victoria. So, let's just set that at 0. So that's what's normal. 6 inches, 18 inches, 100 inches, 1,000 inches. I'm not seeing any change here. Something's gone wrong. Yeah, here we go. Like maybe it's zoomed in too much. What is going? Because if I zoom out, it's like a fucking disaster, right? All right. I feel like we're stalling. Like I feel like the live stream is stalled. This is not as entertaining as I want it to be. Although I am fascinated by the subject. Oops. Go away. I want to find a good map. I want to find a really good map. And I know that there's got to be one. Like, I'd be surprised if, like, NASA hadn't made one of these. Like, why show current coast? Show 5 feet. Okay. This is great. This is great. Can I get this? Here. Let's go to Victoria. There you go. Victoria. No, not Victoria Station. Victoria. There we go. Victoria, BC. Isn't that nice? I put in Victoria, and the third option is Victoria, BC. Doesn't make you feel good about yourself, Dan? That you're number 3. You're number 3. So show current coast. Show 5 feet. Current coast, 5 feet. Current coast. So it's not actually so horrible. It's definitely a problem. Like, there's definitely going to be flooding along the coasts. But it's not like the end of the world at 5 feet. Can we up this? What's 10 feet look like? Even at 10 feet. Even at 10 feet. It's not so doom and gloom at 10 feet. Oh yeah. This is actually great. This is great to show people. Let's go back down to Florida. This is great to show people because, like, I feel like there is sort of this idea that there's going to be, like, the water is going to cover everything, and it's like that's not really what's going to happen, and we actually have the evidence, or but I mean, you take a look, right? You can see this. Oh, this is great. 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5, and you just see how it's encroaching, right? Then you get up to 10 feet, and like it's just like sinking all of this. Here's poor Cuba, like I was saying before, right? This is fun. This is fucking interesting, man. Holy shit. This gives like a really clear picture of how this is likely to develop. And this is going to mess up all kinds of infrastructure. You think about sewer systems, right? You think about like ports. I mean, here's a real disaster area. You want to see a real disaster area? You're looking at New Orleans, right? You're looking at this. Even, so show the current coast. Even a rise of a single foot in Louisiana. Doink. Total fucking disaster, right? You want to talk about your total disaster areas, and I've come to realize this. Oh yeah, look at China. Okay, great. Hold on, let's have the fun. So like 1 foot, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At 10 feet, Louisiana basically is it basically ceases to exist, right? Like that's a state that's getting completely wiped out. New Orleans is gone. Yeah, New Orleans is definitely going to go. Okay, China. Sorry, had to throw that in there. You know me. Yeah, let's take a look at China. Whoop, come on. Zoom. Okay. Let's look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong would be a great place to look at, right? We're all sort of familiar a little bit with Hong Kong and how it rolls. Okay. Wait for the map to catch up. Map's catching up. There it goes. So current coast. 1 foot. 2, 3. Oh, over here is where it's really starting to hurt. Like up in here in this region too. Okay. Yeah. So you show the current coast. Wow, check this out. That's fascinating. Water levels go up by 1 foot. Guangzhou. Look at the flooding. Holy shit. That's a huge change. Huge. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. This is like literally going to turn into like a new lake, into like a new water system. Wow. Guangzhou is screwed. And funnily enough, Hong Kong basically remains as it is. Right? Man, this is cool. Oh man, I can't believe I've never done this. This is actually really calming me in a way. Does that make sense? Because like 10 feet in my view is a lot. Like that's a pretty big increase in sea level. And it's for sure going to have a massive impact. But it's not like fucking the world is going to be underwater, right? Like this is 100%. Oh, here, look at this, Shanghai. Oh, now we're talking. Shanghai. Let's see how bad this gets for Shanghai. Right? Current coast. Almost immediately, right? At 1 foot, you see the river. The river system starts to overflood. So anything built along this river, and then doink, doink. Oh, I should go to Beijing. Yeah, look at this. Shanghai is flooding. Yeah, like you're not going to be able to live here. Like you're straight up not. I should go to Beijing, man. Beijing. Yeah. This is fucking cool, dude. Thanks so much for showing me this, man. Like thanks for recommending this, Ruth. This is calming. This does sort of take me down a little bit, and I think lets me communicate about this with a little bit. Yeah, when you see it for yourself, it's easier to digest, and it makes it more real, and it makes it more. It does make it less like we're gonna be overwhelmed with tsunamis and floods and stuff like this, and puts it more in the real. It's still a fucking disaster, obviously, but it's not like it isn't the apocalypse. It's not the end of our whole fucking thing, which is nice. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice to go through something like this and realize, like, oh yeah, of course there'll be displacement, but it's not like the end of human civilization. The famines are what I'm concerned about. You know me. The famines are what. So this is Tianjin, right? Show at 1 foot. So already at 1 foot, major flooding, right? Already at 1 foot, major flooding. Like literally, current coast. Current coast, 1 foot, major flooding. Yeah, what am I doing? 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Like this wow. Yeah, and at 10 feet it's totally screwed. Beijing? Is Beijing not even built on a... Shows, look at me. Look at me. Here I am talking about China. Is Beijing not even built on a river? What? How the fuck does that work? What? I always just assumed that there was a river. Where the fuck they get their water from? Hey Dave, how you doing? We're just going over water elevations and getting a more realistic view. Yeah, you're right about that. You are right about that, Dave. Why do you think China has built all those ghost cities? Yeah? Well, I mean, for God's sakes, look what's going to happen in Tianjin here, right? Like, at what? Like, here's it now. At 1 foot sea level rise, it's essentially flooded already, right? It's already flooding at 1 foot, 2, 3, 4, and then it has a big tip over at about the 5, 6. Like this is a fucking disaster. That's a fucking disaster. Any place you want me to look at? Any place you want me to look at, bud? I'll look at it. Because this is great. This is great. This is how I'm going to spend the rest of the fucking... Yeah, this map may understate risk. Yeah, that's fair. Look at this. Look at what happens near Nanjing. Yeah, you're right. I think you're absolutely right, dude. It would be nice if we just stopped polluting. That would be super great. Look at this disaster right here. Total fucking disaster in Ho Chi Minh. Complete disaster. Bangkok completely underwater. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Let's see how the Indians fare. Oh, interestingly, mountainous terrain, I suppose. High elevations. Edmonton. Let's take a look, dude. Let's go through Canada a little. Edmonton. Alberta, Canada. Yeah, there's not going to be a big shift. I've noticed in Toronto, where I'm at, there's only a big shift once you get like up at 10. Yeah, absolutely nothing. Edmonton's not gonna. And of course, again, these are all just projections. This is all just like, man, Ruth. Once again, I am gonna say it. Like, thanks so much for leading me here. This is really nice. What a great resource. What a great way to actually talk to people about this, and have people come in and say, have people come in and be like, I'm concerned about climate change and all this, and be like, okay, well, where do you live? Let's go through it. Let's see what's happening to set people's expectations. So at 1 foot, there's Toronto. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not really much of anything. You got to get like, not even at 10, according to this. Which I don't necessarily believe. Like, I think there's got to be some kind of backup that happens. It's never too late, that's right. What we're doing right now, Demand Better, this is really great. We're going through a surging seas risk zone map. It's genuinely helping me deal with my anxiety about the rising sea levels and create a more realistic picture of what is going to happen. So we're just going around cities. So let's take a look at Cornwall, Ontario. Yeah, it looks like not much of anything's going to happen to you, according to these projections. Yeah. What about you, Demand Better? Where do you want to look? Where do you want to look? Because we looked at Victoria. Was a nice. It was nice to take a look at Victoria because we see that like the rising waters isn't going to have. If you're over here, like if you're in Mount Vernon or something, this is where the real problem is. Like the current coast here. Check it out. It's amazing how some places are just like completely untouched. And then other places are just like immediately. Like if the water levels go up 1 foot, boom, this is what happens. Right? Like, so this whole area is just going to be in a crisis. Right? All of this. Look at what happens in Surrey. Oh, wow. In Richmond, Vancouver. Here we go. Vancouver. Right? Current coast. Boom. 1 foot. And Richmond's underwater. Talk about a crisis, dude. Holy shit, actually. Holy shit, actually. Here's your fucking crisis. Here's your Canadian crisis, dude. It's Vancouver. Vancouver's fucked. Oh my god. 2 feet, 3, 4, 5. Vancouver Central. But like Richmond's fucked. Holy shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. It's going to have impacts. Like, I think about, like, sewer systems, right? Like, those sort of waterways that rely on water flowing down, but suddenly the water rises, it's not flowing down anymore. But, like, in terms of actual, like, major loss of territory, and it must just be because of the elevation. Or maybe just this particular program is just like, nobody's going to look at Victoria. Who gives a fuck? But it just doesn't seem to compute. Doesn't seem to matter to Victoria that much. Like a little bit, it looks like. A little bit. And especially like where you imagine it happens, right? Exactly in like the ports and all this. But it's not as like this. What is going to happen to Vancouver is dramatic. That's, if I'm talking about ringing a bell, and this is also helpful because there are places that I need to be ringing a bell about. Here you go. You're living in Richmond? Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. Get the fuck out of Richmond. Get the fuck. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a major crisis for Richmond. Holy shit. Holy shit, dude. Like that's the disaster. And people aren't going to be able to move into Vancouver proper, right? Vancouver proper is going to be like jam. So they're going to be escaping out in here. But Surrey's in the same situation. So you're talking about people just like fleeing inward to like Abbotsford. Oh, like weirdly. Like here's a thing that's going on. It's not. Okay. I suspect that was the case. Like it seems odd to me that Victoria would be fine. Like that seems not realistic, you know. So and like you look at Seattle. So current at 1 foot, 2, 3, 4. Dude, this is a fucking disaster. But it's not like... But it's interesting to do this, because it does sort of set a more realistic expectation as to what to expect. Oh, yeah. Well, at 30 meters, like, this doesn't even go up to 30 meters. Like, it's and we've taken a look at a couple of these that did go up to that amount. There's a bunch of different versions of this. Here, let's take a look at a different one. Got it. So, let's take a look at a different form. Sea level rise plus 7 meters. Let's put it at 0. But this one goes up to like 60 meters. Even at 60 meters, though, right? Like, fuck, Hamburger's screwed. Look at this. I think the most fascinating thing to look at is 0 meters, 1 meter. Like, that's huge, right? Because that's not that far away, right? That's a really, like, you talk about incremental change. Well, there's your fucking incremental change, right? You're looking at, like, this whole coast is just going to eat it over there in Deutschland. Let's see what they say about Victoria. Victoria. Maybe Victoria has like passed some sort of legislation saying like, no, you can't put any information about this. So here's Victoria, 1 meter, 2 meters. Yeah, I think there might be something going on, like 60 meters. There you go. Okay, so Victoria's underwater at 60 meters. 30 meters is big time screw town. Yeah, like 30 meters is big time screw town. Look at this crazy shit, dude. Like this is, let's go to what we were looking at before. Yeah. Here's your post-apocalyptic future, dude. At 30 meters. What's the line, do you think, between like flooding and relocation and straight up dystopia post-apocalyptic future? Like 5 meters, still not bad, dude. Like 5 meters is still not bad in Victoria. 6. Yeah, 6, you're starting to feel it. 7. Really starting to feel it a little bit more. Let's go back down to 0. So, okay, I shouldn't say that. No, at like that's pretty dramatic. Like Oak Bay here. Yeah, here you go. Major sections are totally screwed. Hey, Kian, how you doing? Oh, this is going to be interesting for you, Kian. We are going through a flood map that's actually showing us how the sea levels are going to affect certain places. So, for example, Ruth wants to take a look at Italy, which I will gladly look at Italy. Actually, a good friend of mine goes to Italy all the time, and it would be really great. So here's the current map of Italy. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. Italy at 1 meter. Not bad. Not bad. 2. Yeah, you can see it's already happening here. Right? Taranto. Yeah, over in here, right? Even at 2 meters, right? 0 meters. 1 meter. 2. And then if you go up to like 5, it's going to be really dramatic. Where does things get really dramatic for Italy? Like pretty dramatic even at 5 meters, dude. Here, let's zoom into, yeah, Castle. Like if you're living in this place, Castle, like here it is normally. Oh, it's already like a dotting lake kind of system almost. And some of these might not be very accurate, honestly, but like 1 meter rise, boom, it's already done. Like, and there are some places that are like that, man. Oak Bay and James Bay are the wealthy areas in Victoria. Yeah, get fucked, eh? Yeah, once you start getting up to 10 meters, that seems to be like where the real big fucking crisis starts. Oh, look at this, Pisa. Pisa's fucked. Pisa's totally fucked. Even at 6 meters. Even at 1 meter. Holy cow. So here's Pisa. 1 meter. Right? There are some places that are like this, where it's just like, okay, normal, this is our life right now. Goes up 1 meter, 3 feet. Boom. Boom. Yeah, Italy is fairly mountainous. Yeah. Oh yeah, check this out though. Oh man. I wonder how, let's take a look at poor Cuba. Poor Cuba. Oops, what'd I do? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Back to Cuba. Back to Cuba. So sorry to anybody who's listening and not actually watching, and so sorry if this is boring for you, but I'm enthralled. I'm fascinated. This is like, I literally feel like I feel my anxiety just going. Something about just being entrenched in the real, entrenched in the truth, right? So, Cuba at 1 foot, or 1 meter rather, not too bad. 2, starting to see it at 2. Yeah, 3 is really bad for them. If you start to get up to 9 meters, now you're talking. Let's go crazy. 60 meters. Yeah, at 60 meters, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 separate islands, right? That as we move forward, it's gonna like break up into like all of these different island places. Crazy. Man, this is crazy to see. Like literally, it's like you're watching Cuba sink, right? Cuba just sinks into the water. Man, that's fucking wild, dude. Oh, this never happens. This never happens. Here I was thinking like, oh, maybe the section of this will come underwater and we'll be able to get a boat through outside of Panama. But even the Panama Canal, like, I mean, there's this disaster certainly, but like, it never actually connects. It doesn't actually do it. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Oh yeah, let's go to Florida. Look at Florida. Look at poor Florida, dude. Florida's so fucked, dude. Like, and that happens pretty much immediately. Like, at 1 meter, if we zoom in here to Miami, you know, at 2. So 2 meters already, look at it. Like 3, 4, 5. Just sell your home. Just sell your home and move. You know, once the flooding happens, just sell your home and move. You know, sell it to who, dude? Sell it to who? Who's gonna move into this territory? Who's gonna buy this shit? Like, Florida is so fucked. Florida is so fucked. But nowhere is more fucked than New Orleans, if you ask me. This whole area, look at this. This is the impressive shit. There's no upper limit, dude. How much ice do you want to melt, right? So, like, if you go from 0 meters to 1 meter, boom, 1 meter. New Orleans is underwater, dude. Like, first step. Doink. 2, 3. Like, this whole place. You're talking about this whole coastal region here. You're talking about Louisiana, man. New Orleans. Might as well just be fucking Atlantis as far as future generations are concerned. Like, this is gone. It's gone. Just gone. We'll be like, there was a place called New Orleans that existed off the coast, and people will be like, sure, Grandpa, whatever you say. Ken, I know you are in Pennsylvania, right? So, because you're inland, like, I talked about this last time you were here. Like, let's put it way up to 60 meters, right? So this is like down the road. But you see, like, New York, right, totaled. So you see what I'm saying, right? Like, New York is going to come inland, right? That, like, if this is what it looks like now, and at 1 meter even, New York is already starting to experience trouble, right? So New York's going to be scrambling around. Like, this is at 3 meters. And, of course, these are all projections, and usually the projections are air on the side of humans. You start getting up to, like, 5 meters. Like, people are going to be leaving, and they're going to be fleeing New York, dude. And where do you think they're going to go? Like, where do you think they're going to go? They're coming to Pennsylvania. Suddenly, places like Pittsburgh will start to look really nice. People start to be like, oh, maybe we should get to Pittsburgh. Right? And, like, we're just kind of waiting for this shit to happen, dude. Oh, man, look at this. These places are so screwed. I wonder how Venezuela does. Poor Venezuela. Oy vey, look at this. This is the stuff that I don't think people are really fully prepared to understand. How it's going to mess with, like, river systems and lake systems and water, like that kind of thing. Yeah, the heat is what I'm more worried about too. Like, I'm glad that I'm going through this. I'm glad that I'm taking the time to do this, just because it's easing my own anxiety about rising water levels. But, like, let's. Oh, hey, you know where we should go? You know where we should go? We should go to Hawaii, right? Where's Hawaii? Why am I struggling suddenly with remembering where Hawaii is? It's off the west coast, right? Am I crazy? I'm crazy. Am I not crazy? Where the fuck is Hawaii? Why am I struggling with Hawaii? This is embarrassing. Okay, Honolulu. Good enough. Honolulu. Right? There's Hawaii. I did it. I know where Hawaii is. See? I didn't just randomly stumble onto Hawaii. Okay. 1 meter. Still looking okay. I guess there's, like, volcanoes and shit around here, right? So this is, like, fairly mountainous. Let's go nuts. No, they're great. Like, they never, ever... I mean, Honolulu, the city itself, yeah, all this at 60 meters. But, like, at 0, we're fine. 1, little tiny bit. 2, yeah, it doesn't really get dramatic. I mean, that is actually pretty dramatic. 3, yeah. 5. Check out North Sentinel Island. Is that in this system here? Here. We have a different map where I can actually search North Sentinel. Yeah, here we go. All right. So, show current. Where is this even? All right. Let's just take a look. So, show 1 foot. Yeah, already, eh? Like, big changes all around here. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's starting to happen internally, you can see. Oops. I gotta tell you guys, I think the big wake-up call for America, is gonna be what happens to New Orleans. Like, New Orleans is just literally any shift upwards, and New Orleans is underwater, dude. Like, any shift upwards. And it's totally underwater. Look up the island itself. So what I should be searching for North Sentinel Island. I don't really know what I'm searching for here, dude. Sorry. North Sentinel Island. Like Myanmar? Is that what we're talking about? Burma? Is that what we're talking about? I'm gonna do it. So, back down. Show. I'm good. My bad. North Sentinel Island. Like which one of these two, dude? We got the North Sentinel Island, then we got the one in Miramar. There's 2. Is it this one? North Sentinel Island? Is that what we're talking about? Like over here. Oh, okay, okay. And so if we go back to this map, near India. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Oh, I lost it. North. Okay. So here's your island. Yeah, that was okay. I see what you're looking for. I see what you're looking for. Okay, okay. So we can get back to that. So North Sentinel Island. No. North Sentinel Island. Okay, and then click, and then there it is. This is what we're looking for right here. So here's your current coast. Show 1 foot. So already at 1 foot, you can see the difference, right? Click, click. Let's see. Doink. Doink. It doesn't seem to be a big change from there. Like that, the 1 foot thing is like the big shift. Yeah, looks like it's just literally like, according to this, which we have discovered already through our investigation with Victoria, wasn't completely accurate. So maybe let's take a look actually with this map, because this map has seemed to be, and now that we know where we're looking, we don't need to search exactly. Oh my goodness. Let me get a better sense. Okay, so it's actually closer to like Myanmar. Okay. Okay. Man, this is fucking fun. I'm enjoying the shit out of this. Once again, many apologies. Oh, I know what's happening here. Put back at 0. Many apologies to those who are like, oh my god, I can't believe John is doing this. But you know what? It's Friday. And as the poet and scholar Rebecca Black reminds us, you gotta get down on Fridays. Party and yeah. Okay, here you go. North Sentinel Island. I don't really understand why it's covered in this red, but so at 1 foot, so the difference between 0, 1, 2. Let's go crazy. Just 60. Yeah. So, but you got to go pretty dramatic. That even at 9 meters, it's not too crazy. Why, it's the only place in the world with an uncontacted tribe. They would be freaking out. Oh. Yeah, dude, they would be freaking out. Like, what the fuck is going on? Wild, man. Wild. Wild. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for taking that journey with me. That's great. I think I'm going to do this kind of thing more often. I feel like that really helps. Now we just need to do the same thing for desertification. Is there a desertification map? Desertification map of the world. Can we see the same thing? Right? World Atlas of Desertification, Global Desertification Vulnerability Map. There you go. So, very high. Yeah, as I've always been saying, right? In exactly the regions. The spreading of the Sahara Desert. The Middle East, of course. Just a total disaster constantly. Australia. This spreading here is a major concern. It's a major, major concern for me. Because, like, you don't want to start losing your prairie land, right? You start losing your prairie land, you can't actually grow shit. And that's what I'm fucking concerned about. I'm very, very concerned about that. Like, you're talking about famines, man. Like, famines. But even this, like, no. We're not going to do the Paris Climate Agreement, dude. Like, that's not real. Like, that's not... We're not going to hit that. It's not going to matter. Like, it's, yeah, that's, I do think that, like, because of what's going to happen to the United States, right, because the rest of the world is going to sort of sequester the United States into a little box, and stop really communicating and trading in significant ways with the United States, because like the U.S. is alienating everybody, right? It's been alienating everybody for the last 50 years, right? And I mean, you just have to take a look at the Belt and Road Initiative, my favorite thing to show people, to kind of put this together, right? Like China is linking this section of the world together through massive high-speed rail. And they've done that over the last 20 years. And it's having a lot of nations sort of ask themselves, like, well, wait a minute, what have the Americans been doing for us exactly? What exactly is it that the Americans have been doing for us? And especially as the Americans start to embark on this, like, crazy path of sanctions. Well, if you sanction China, you sanction Russia, you sanction South America, you sanction all these places, well, they're just going to buddy up. And they're just going to be like, oh, okay, well, why do we even deal with the United States? Let's just partner up, right? And you see in this map, right? This rail goes into Europe, and people are going to start asking, like, why are we putting up with these Americans? And America is just going to end up being like off on the side. That this is going to become the world, right? This is the whole American centralized sort of way of looking at the world is going to dissolve, if it hasn't already in many places, and people are just going to look here, and they're going to see China as sort of the beating heart of a rebuilding of a new sort of, well, a new world order, if you like. Oh no, dude, I love talking about China. China's like, it's one of my favorite subjects to talk about. I find it to be such a fascinating thing. What do I think about the Taiwan situation? I think that the Taiwan situation is completely manufactured. That there is no such thing as a Taiwan situation. Like Taiwan used to be where the ruling class of China lived during the Century of Humiliation, right? That the Taiwanese ruling class worked with the British Imperials, right, in order to subjugate the populace and keep themselves wealthy. And because they were living on an island, they could literally be separate from the poverty that they were creating and generating and maintaining on the mainland. When the communists took over, right, they took over the mainland, and they never, like, rolled into Taiwan, right? They just let the guys live over there and just were like, okay, you're there as part of China forever, as you always have been. Right? Taiwan was always part of China. Like, you don't find a document saying, like, we, the people of Taiwan, sign a treaty with the people of China, because Taiwan was always part of China. Always. Right? Like, it would be like saying, like, hey, how come we don't have any documents explicitly stating that, the city of New York is part of America? Well, because it's, like, literally one of the first places they fucking landed. Like, Taiwan is, like, embedded in Chinese history. It's an ancient province. It's where the ruling class used to be in China, right? And just because, like, the communists took over on the mainland and took everything over, it doesn't change anything, right? That this erection of the idea that Taiwan is its own separate entity is a Western idea. And it's a Western idea based on a very explicit and obvious goal. They want Taiwan to declare its independence so that they can put a fucking military base there, right? Can you imagine, like, the Americans literally putting, like, a nuclear bomb right here in New Taipei City, right? Just put a nuke right here. Oh yeah, okay, right? Like, put like, even not a nuke, but just, like, put an airport here, put an airfield here, so the Americans can, like, fly fucking air shit over this region, right? Like, that's obviously what they're trying to do. And they're trying to do it with this obvious grift of pretending like Taiwan is independent when it's always been part of China. It's been part of China since China. Like, it's always been China. You literally got to go back to, like, the Qing dynasty to see that it's been independent. No. Do I think China will try to conquer? I don't think China's going to try to conquer anybody, dude. Why? Why would China even make the attempt? They got this shit going on. Like, this is where they're banking their shit, dude. That what China is focusing on now is Afghanistan. That Afghanistan has the Americans have left Afghanistan, the Taliban has taken over, and the Chinese are desperate. Let's get rid of this. Get back to a more cartoon-looking... Get the fucking... There we go. So the Belt and Road Initiative, you'll see. Let's zoom right in. Right? So there's Afghanistan. Right? They've built the rail, and this is high-speed, like, mag rail. Shit goes like 600 kilometers an hour along this rail. It's a fucking amazing. We don't have anything like that over here. And they got a rail right here. Right? Boom. And this is built up to... It's like it's a weird place to end the rail. It's the Kashgar Prefecture. In my view, the Chinese literally put this here specifically. I mean, do they want to have more control of Europe? Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. They want to have more influence, if you prefer it that way. I mean, take a look at the Belt and Road Initiative. They've already built it in, right? It's already there, right? They've already got a railway all the way from Madrid to Beijing, right? They've already got it. So their influence has already increased dramatically, right? Simply by the existence of this rail. And a lot of what's going on in politics these days in this region is completely built around the Belt and Road Initiative. Americans don't talk about the Belt and Road Initiative because they don't want Americans to realize that there's this fucking amazing fucking high-speed rail that exists coming out of China. Right? Because if you actually point out that there's this high technology like mag rail that exists coming out of China, well, then Americans are going to want it for themselves, and that means that the billionaires are actually going to have to spend some money, and they're not interested in that. So, like, for example, all the stuff, if you've been hearing anything about Belarus, well, what do you think's going on with that? Here's the high-speed rail coming from Moscow into Minsk, Belarus. So yeah, of course they're trying to put sanctions and shit on Belarus, because that's the linchpin between Europe and China. So when the Americans are like, put sanctions on Belarus, they're literally saying stop trading with China, right? Put sanctions on Belarus, cut the Belt and Road Initiative so that China can't get goods into Europe. And of course, this pink stuff that you're seeing here is planned line that's not yet built. And of course, they're desperate to get a line into Kabul, right? They're desperate to get this line into Kabul right through the Wakhan corridor, right? Get it into Kabul, and then connect with Kabul, and then from Kabul, build a line into Mashhad, and then from Mashhad to Tehran, and then Tehran up through Turkey, into Bulgaria, Romania, and that gives them a secondary line, right? That gives them a secondary line into, and you can see they've already tried to do it by doing all this crazy shit up here that they've had to do, but that gives them like a real direct sweeping line. If they can get this built, then, you know, oh, we've got to put sanctions on Minsk, but then, like, what are you going to do? You're going to put sanctions on Turkey and then also fucking Croatia and also Budapest, like all these places? Like, it's going to be... It's a losing fight, right? It's a losing fight for the Americans and the Europeans. That it is only a matter of time until China's influence... And because China and Russia have a very strong alliance, their alliance is very strong. And because of that, like, I mean, just look at the landmass alone, right? Because of the strength of China and the strength of Russia together, and the creation of their currency, the renminbi, that it's very, very likely that moving in to this century and moving beyond, that the true powerhouse in the world is going to be this alliance between the China and Russia. And it doesn't look like the Americans aren't going to wedge between that. They're not going to do anything about that. They can't do anything about it. What can they do? Like, what can they do? That's a strong alliance between those two. And anybody that gets elected into Russian parliament, anybody, is going to be pro-China. Because they have like fucking 1.6 billion people and huge, enormous high-speed rail and all this kind of stuff. They have so much to offer. They've got so much to offer, right? And moreover than any of that, China looks to be more or less doing it fairly peacefully. That they're not actually like doing what the Americans are doing, which is going into regions and bombing the shit out of them. Right? Anytime the Chinese uses its military, it's very light, sort of border control issues. I shouldn't say very light. Like, their military is very forceful. But what I mean by light is like they're not going from like America to fucking Afghanistan and bombing the shit out of them here. They're literally like, okay, our border is here, so we're gonna put troops here and like secure our border, right, with strength and maybe push back a little bit. Hey DM, how you doing, bud? Election call conservative minority. NDP main opposition. What makes you say that, bud? What makes you say that? Has there been some kind of change dramatically that I don't know anything about? This sucks. I hate this so fucking much. These fucking Nazi fascists. Unfucking believable. I think something serious would have to happen to see like, I'm glad that the liberals have dropped, though. You're just having fun. You're just trying to scare me is what you're trying to do, DM. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to spook the shit out of me. What would the conservatives, where would they have to be sitting to get a minority? So let's put them at 32. Let's drop the liberals. Oh, hold on. Reset, sorry. Let's put them up 1%. 1% is pretty dramatic in Canadian politics. And let's put the liberals down 1%. Get seat projection. So even a 1% swing, not really doing it for them. Let's put them up another percent. And let's say the liberals drop another percent. This is very dramatic. This is very dramatic. So, yeah, I mean, I think everybody around here is rooting for the NDP for sure, dude. Is rooting for the NDP for sure. I'm super glad to see this number. That the liberals were sort of hoping they could coast through to a majority, and it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And I think the debates are going to get worse for them. I think that this election is actually going to go pretty badly for the liberals. Like, the question now that Trudeau should start asking himself is it going to get bad enough that the oh, hey DM, I'm going to hit you with something here, okay? Just very quickly. I've been harping on this, but I know you haven't seen this. And Kian, here you go. You can get a view into Canadian politics. Hey, Dave. And Dave, this will be good for you too. Oh, you've got that opinion, eh, Dave? I don't know if I agree fully with that. That I do think that polls are fairly accurate of the mood of the nation. And I understand how, like, there is manipulation and manufacturing consent. But if the populace swings dramatically, and it does, then it's going to do that. Okay, check this out. You guys are going to love this. Okay. 8 conservative candidates use public money to place ads in a newspaper that spreads COVID-19 conspiracies. So 8 federal conservative candidates in Alberta have placed advertisements in the media outlet The Epoch Times, right? It's a controversial media outlet affiliated with Falun Gong, okay? Falun Gong, right? Here's Falun Gong's symbol. 8 conservatives taking ads out in this paper. Here's their symbol. You guys notice anything? You guys seeing anything here? Anything special? The big reason, Dave, why I don't say that that the whole thing is rigged. And don't get me wrong, right? Like, Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent is real, and all of that kind of shit is real, and all of that is definitely happening. But, like, the idea of a person going into a booth and saying, I vote for this guy, and it gets marked and they actually check it, that definitely does happen. Oh, yes, and a key example of this, Dave, polls are easily manipulated. It's all how you phrase the questions, or don't include questions. Right? Like, the pollers are not even asking about a basic income. Right? They're not even asking about a basic income. Right? They're like, which policy would you like to see? Pharmacare, dental, increased health care, right? All this kind of stuff. They don't even ask about a basic income. It's just not even in the questions. So it's not even about how you phrase the question. It's just about not even asking some questions. Yeah, and DM, that's a good point. If you guys are able to come out, got a protest at Dundas tomorrow, Dundas Square, 11 a.m. Come on out if you can. If you can't, you'll be here in spirit. And I think I'm going to call it. It's 9:05 here, so I gotta get to bed. I gotta get to bed because I got a big day tomorrow. We're going to be confronting the police. That's going to be the scariest moment, confronting the police. So let's hope we don't get fucked. And I hope a ton of people show up. I've been promoting the shit out of it. I hope a ton of people show up. That'd be so cool. It'd be so cool if like 50 people came. That would be cool. Yeah, honestly, even 20 people. If 20 people came, I'd be like, fuck yeah, that's cool. All right, guys. Always remember, you are divine beings living in divine energy. Don't let these fuckers tell you otherwise. Good luck. We're gonna need it.